Hey, what's up, guys? I want to take a minute and just kind of introduce myself to any new subscribers or followers to the show. My name is Justin Yarbrough. I'm now a retired police officer. I did 20 years with the Sunrise Police Department here in South Florida. Started this show with my friend Nick Perez back in 2020. Donut Shop podcast has evolved throughout the years, and now it's just a cop or retired cop hanging out in a donut shop talking to interesting people. So right now I'm sitting in a Dunkin' Donuts in South Florida. Some of these shows might be via a streaming service that I use to record episodes with people that are further away from me and can't come on. But it's a great time, and appreciate everybody checking out the show. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, drop a comment if you're thinking about something while watching the episode or listening to the episode. Really appreciate it. It helps the algorithm. So now enjoy the show.
Calling all units, calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.
Welcome back to the Donut Shop podcast. I'm here this week with Eric Reynolds, otherwise known on social media as Keto 5O. Today's guest, as I said, Eric Reynolds. Eric served nearly 2 decades with Boynton Beach Police Department before retiring in 2019. During his career, like many officers, he battled with the hidden costs of the profession: weight gain, chronic stress, heart disease, PTSD, and unhealthy coping habits. We all know about that stuff. Rather than accepting it as part of the job, he decided to completely change his life. Today, Eric is a licensed sports nutritionist, certified personal trainer, founder of Keto 5O, and creator of the Cops and Campers program, where he helps first responders improve their physical and mental health through nutrition, motivation, and community. This isn't just a conversation about diet. It's about longevity, resiliency, mental health, and giving first responders the tools to live better, healthier lives after years of taking care of everyone else. So I guess this is kind of an episode for me after retirement and now getting into it. So welcome to the podcast, Eric. Thanks for coming. I know I've followed you for years with Donut Shop podcasts and stuff, and known about you, and now you're here. So welcome, buddy.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. My mom used to live here, back in the 90s. So it was a little flashback. I was telling you about Pinch a Penny around the corner. I was like, man, I used to remember throwing it back in my truck, filling up all the chlorine back in that day.
Yeah.
So.
Also, funny programming note for anybody that actually watches these in-person episodes. I had them repaint the walls. No, I didn't. I come in here, and it's been a few weeks since I've been in here, and there's usually like a Dunkin' Donuts wallpaper on it, but now they've painted it. I think like a off-white or a light pink or something like that. Who knows? But the room's painted a little differently, so the show might look a little different. I'm in the same spot in Cooper City. So yeah, you're here. So we got challenge coins. Keto 5O on the back, and then Cops and Campers. So we got that, and then we got a little snack for later once it thaws out.
This is Keto Brick. This is actually the glazed donut flavor.
Hell yeah.
It's better for you. It's protein and fat, not all the carbohydrates and sugar. So it's, that's my little gift to you.
So we'll put that on the tray, and maybe substitute that out for a donut, or from eating donuts later, like we do.
These really aren't too far off from real donuts when you break them down and put them into your body.
Oh, okay. So the fake ones that everybody knows I have on the table are pretty much just like a donut. Okay. All right. Fair. Well, let's kind of establish you and talk about like where you came from, and what you did kind of before this newer phase in your life, or this newer phase that you took over that I mentioned in the interview. Like, who are you?
Yeah, I guess I had to start with my mom. She was now she's a retired homicide sergeant from Miami. So I grew up in Miami. I was a Miami Palmetto kid where Jeff Bezos went to school. He was about 4 years ahead of me. I never knew who the guy was then, unfortunately.
Nobody knows who he was.
I would have been a lot nicer, saved him from bullies or something.
Yeah.
But anyways, grew up in Miami. I ended up going to Florida State University and graduated, and like everybody, didn't know what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. I started catching shoplifters for a store called Bird Eyes, which is popular in Florida. It's like Macy's.
Yeah, it turned into Macy's.
Yeah, I moved up the ranks fast. It was so much fun catching people stealing. And in the 90s, you could be cowboys. You could chase them from store to store. Yeah. It wasn't this stop at the curb stuff. So we could get hands-on. Yeah. I learned cuffing the old-fashioned way. You got to almost make somebody a little bit like shock and awed to get them in cuffs,
Yeah.
some strikes to distract them and all that stuff. That's what he taught me. I learned from the other store detectives, and you start dealing with the police officers a lot more. My mom being in the profession, I started thinking, I should go feds, So I applied at the FBI, Secret Service, Customs, and got denied every time.
Yeah.
See, when I was at Florida State, I had a little habit that caught up with me. I used to smoke a lot of marijuana in college. Didn't think I was going to ever be a cop. I played football about 12 years, had a little bit of brain numbness going on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it made me feel better. I was able to concentrate and was very productive with it in college. So I left college, and then you can have had you couldn't have smoked in the last 5 years or after age 21. So I had a lot of doors getting shut on me back in the 90s. Now, I think it's today. If you're high today, maybe you won't get hired. But if you couldn't show up sober today, so I really applied at every department. My mom's own department denied me twice. I failed 2 polygraphs.
Yeah.
They do work because I was lying.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I couldn't tell them I was buying weed in college, and slinging it here and there to cover the bills.
Shit,
So
all right. Yeah.
you had to cover that shit up. So, after getting a burnout and being a security manager for about 4 or 5 years, managing a staff, I wasn't smoking the wacky weed. I was getting my life together. I really had a goal in mind. And I applied at Boynton Beach, and I really thought I was going to get on there because that's where I knew all the cops. They knew me. Get this cool Batman belt so you don't have to worry about fighting. You can spray them and all this cool stuff. And then they denied me because of the marijuana history. So I'm like, man, I'm never going to be a cop now. So I'm thinking I'll just move up the ranks, corporate security world. And then one of my mom's friends was a lieutenant at Sunny Isles Beach Police Department down in Miami.
Yeah.
And they had a part-time dispatcher job. And they said, hey, why don't you part-time dispatch, get your foot in the door. Maybe they'll put you in an academy in a year. So I'm like, hey, it's better than nothing. So I started dispatching, down in Miami. QR codes, everything that's like weird, but it was familiar. My mom used the same codes. And she was still employed in Miami at the time. So here I am, a little dispatcher trying to work my way up. But I'm like 30.
Yeah.
This is like, time is like, oh man, it's not a young man's game for me at this point. So about 6 months in, I remember calling Boynton Beach again, asking them about dispatchers. Because I still had a place up there. I was driving all the way down to Miami.
That was the thing that I was thinking about. I was like, wait a minute, if you're talking how you knew everybody from Boynton, but then you want to go to Sunny Isles Beach. And I mean, it may be a little bit of a different scenario, but I mean, traffic is still traffic, and traffic's always been bad down there. I mean, now it's even worse.
Golden Glades interchange. Oh, it's
Dude,
brutal. But I had a 6 a.m. shift, so I was getting down there about 5. So I was able to.
Okay.
And then I would work retail security at Saks Fifth Avenue at night. Mm-hmm. I was still hustling, doing my thing. So finally I called Boynton. They're like, yeah, we're not in charge of our dispatch. And that was the first time I ever heard of a police department not being in charge of their dispatch. I guess it was under the city. Yeah. Which eventually we got it back in negotiations because it was just causing a nightmare with our relationship with dispatch. Like you just had 2 different management systems and
dealing
stuff.
with the county.
So I had, hey, you guys hiring dispatch? They're like, no, but we're hiring a CSO position. I'm like, what's a CSO? That's like a PSA, public service aide or something. And I'm like, they're like, you handle traffic crashes and sometimes low, non-in-progress calls or something like that. And get your foot in the door. And I'd met a bunch of the training guys over the years, because they come in and arrest my shoplifters. Every FTO would bring one of their guys in, and I was crushing it in Boynton because everyone's stealing in Boynton. Yeah. Don't leave nothing hanging around in Boynton because it will disappear. Yeah. Same with the retail store. So we had great numbers. So I always knew the cops. So they go try the CSO job. So $10 an hour. I went to little Broward, academy for 2 months and learned all about THI stuff. It was pretty interesting. It wasn't, no push-ups. They couldn't yell at you. I remember I had Lockhart was our DI, right?
That was
okay.
Mine. Yeah.
So it used to drive him crazy because he couldn't yell at us the way he could the regular cadets because we're in our light blue uniforms all week, And he always, since you know him, I shattered my pinky playing basketball, one of the many injuries I've suffered in my life. And when I did the salute, I don't know if you can see, but my pinky's all shattered. Yeah. He couldn't believe it because he just was like trying to find something to pick on you about. And he remember saying, would a dog gnawed on your freaking finger or something? He's like, get that hand down. Like he was just disgusted by it. Yeah. So anyways,
Lockhart, well, just a background on Lockhart. He is a Marine and Fort Lauderdale police officer, and he spent a majority of his career. A lot of respect for him, but everybody always tells their stories like Lockhart's not really a real person kind of thing. But still a good dude. I knew him, through the academy academy and stuff like that. But he tried to be that drill instructor type Marine guy, get on your butt. And I talk about it on some of these episodes when I ask guys like, what's something that you carry over that you don't ever, that you don't do to this day. And one of the things that he used to get everybody on when he'd see you walk in the halls was like, if you had something in your gun hand. So we wore gun belts in the academy when I went through. And so if, he could associate. So if you had a book in your right hand and you were right-handed, then he'd yell at you and make you do push-ups and stuff because he was trying to train you, keep that hand free to draw if you have to in an emergency. And I still to this day, like if I'm carrying, if I'm CCW or something like that, and I grab the groceries, all the bags go in my left hand, just because walking out into the parking lot, I may have to fucking blow somebody away, so.
It's funny how those last with you. One of my DIs was a female, and she was actually one of our FTOs at our department. So she would moonlight over there. And I remember her telling the ladies and the guys about wearing flip-flops if you're going to go somewhere. Just in case shit breaks bad and you got to be ready. Ladies, you're going to be running around one broken heel or whatever. And I was always thinking about that. And to this day, unless I'm going to the beach, I think about, and Bruce Willis in Die Hard running around the glass. Barefoot. It's just in my head, all because of, like you were saying, there's little things that just gun hand, not walking across the grass in the courtyard, little things that you weren't allowed to do.
Dude, there was, when you say flip-flops and guns, there was a guy, there was like I forget what the event was. It wasn't an actual active shooter at Sawgrass Mills, but it was one of your buddies, a loss prevention agent that got out an asp or a baton, and he started trying to put it away on the tile floor and was like smashing it, and everybody hears that noise and it echoes in the mall, and they're like, and then all of a sudden, active shooter. So like the mall went on lockdown. It was a big deal. Well, this BSO deputy had a rifle in his trunk and grabbed his rifle, slung it, and was in the Oasis like ready to go, protecting people kind of coming through to support. But the picture Sun Sentinel got was him, and he had flip-flops on. He had like an FSU hat on, his rifle slung. I think he had a tack vest on and the rifle, but he had flip-flops on. And so I always think about the same thing to this day. Like, what if you get captured? What if you get a picture taken of you, running through some place during an active shooter and you got fucking flip-flops on or whatever?
Well, I mean, I wasn't taught in the BJJ world or anything like that, so there's a lot of badasses walking around flip-flops. They'll just kick them off, and
for sure.
And it'll hit you upside the head with that barefoot. But
Yeah.
I didn't. My thing was judo when I grew up. That was kind of what I was taught, and it was wrestling and football.
Yeah.
My thing is grab the suspect, get him down, and then we'll worry about everything later.
Yeah.
And I didn't have holds. It was usually strikes.
Yeah.
Strikes to the head or whatever you can get them on. So yeah, the CSO thing.
So you did that.
Yeah, and then. That was interesting. I really thought I was going to be a traffic guy because they sent me to THI school, the first wave. There's like 3 courses, and it was like crazy math, and I was like, it was hard. It wasn't easy for me,
No, for sure.
And because I was more an algebra guy, not a geometry guy. You start getting messing to the angles and stuff and then mixing different.
I'm the other way. I failed algebra in high school and did finite math and more creative side.
Man. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
So.
That's for idiots. Yeah.
So anyways, I thought I'd be traffic. So anyways, after about 6 months, I remember I was learning the road, which I didn't know Boynton, like the east side of Boynton.
But as like a service aid.
Right,
Yeah,
as a service aid. And I learned the geography, I learned the radio.
Yep.
How to talk, when to talk, not be
Big
stepping
deal.
on people. And then I learned who the a-holes were in the department, who the cool guys were. So when I put my letter in, and I had my mom, homicide sergeant, help me write the letter to go up the chain of command. He even came back from the assistant chief going, nice memo. And I was like, thanks, Mom. Here I am, 30 years old, still getting my homicide cop mom help me rewrite letters.
Yeah.
But that letter became legendary because all these other CSOs used the same letter, and they changed the just to send it up the chain. Because what ended up happening, Officer Joe Crider and I became the first 2 CSOs to go to the academy for our department as police officers.
Oh, okay.
So it was like a transition, like an explorer type program.
Right. Like I always say, like explorers are kind of like AAA baseball or like high school baseball. Then you go to like AAA or college, and then you step into the big leagues.
Right.
So you just kind of work the ladder.
And you're a good risk. The department already knows you.
Yep.
They already took a shot. They already know whether you're probably going to cut it. And Joe, he was an Army guy, and he's passed away now of a heart attack. He's part of my mission. But him and I were the first 2 to go through. And we came out. We've been 10-8 cops, as they say. We knew traffic now. So now I'm a rookie, but guess what I know? I know the radio, I know the traffic, and I know the bosses. So you kind of get a different experience coming in as a cop at that level because
Yeah.
you already proved yourself.
Yeah.
They'll still make fun of you or maybe hammer you or bring you somewhere because they want you to be better.
Yeah.
So it's no longer just picking on you to see what you're made of. They want you to be better. Like I still remember getting my FTO. I was in a transition FTO from one to the other, and they had a filler. And I remember Officer Griswold slamming on the brakes, slapping himself in the chest and saying, "Where am I? I'm shot. I'm bleeding out."
Yeah.
And I didn't know where we were. I knew we were close, like 3rd Ave or 3rd Street. And I couldn't get it in that moment of stress.
Yeah.
And I never forgot it, though. You can bet every FTO call, everything from that point on, looking at intersections, looking at street signs, and it was just a big time learning experience. But then anyways, finally go to the academy, get out in '02 and, night patrol, all the, paying your dues. I got good at DUIs.
Oh,
That's
yeah?
the only way I could keep the bosses off of you. We had a really hard shift. It was like a rookie shift where they kind of weed you through. We had 2 senior guys that had the best zones. The rest of us, it was just mockery of stuff.
Dealing with shit.
We had sergeants that would pull us over. They 1050 us.
What?
Yeah, if you go out your zone. If you did a 40 and somebody was on a traffic stop,
It's a lunch break.
yeah,
Yeah.
they would call you out. Like you don't ever go on a traffic stop if a boss is on a call in your zone. Like all that really like threatening, like and
Yeah.
I understand it.
The
If a
zone-
boss is in my zone on a call, I should be there. I get it now.
The zone integrity stuff that a lot of people some cities I've learned that like some cities it's just handle everything because everybody's getting hammered. But slower agencies like a Boynton or a Sunrise, and it's not that we're super slow, like we're busy all day, but you have a little bit more, they want you to
playtime.
have a little more zone integrity. So it's like, yo, I'm a senior guy and I picked a slug zone. I don't want to fucking go to your zone and handle shit just because you want to turn a shoplifting of a keto bar at Walmart into a felony investigation that could just be a trespassing or something like that. So you can get back to your zone. Like, that kind of thing. Like the senior guys sometimes, but otherwise it's also just respect for your buddies. Like even if it's one of your good friends, hey bro, sorry you had to handle that domestic. Like I got you on the next one. Like, or you made that, or you had to make that arrest.
Get the info, I'll do it.
You should have texted, hey bro, I got you. And most of us would be like, no bro, it's a domestic. I got it. I'll bang out that report, But if you end up fucking landing on a grenade or jumping on a clusterfuck in the zone, hey bro, what are you doing translating that on a crash?
Yeah.
Translating Spanish on a crash for a service aid,
10-6.
tied up with that or directing traffic. Can you get somebody, I'll go replace you, come back to your zone and handle your shit.
Yeah, that definitely started to disappear the longer I got into the job. As I saw, like there was a lot more like guys just. I remember a guy would make a crack. I was a zone partner in the let's say the bad section of town, and you could make an arrest every time you stop somebody, dude. And this dude would do a crack pipe arrest right at the beginning of shift, man. And then I would just get slammed. And then other zone units are coming to back me up because he's inside with a freaking a simple, rough arrest where you can release him with a court day and he's going to send the guy to county.
Yeah.
You start seeing that right off the get-go, And then I call it being a team player type of thing. And I play team sports, so it's ingrained in me. And I get mad at even my family members. If they're dropping the ball, I lose my shit.
Yeah.
Because they're letting us down. And I expect more out of them, So the same thing when I'm in police work, you start getting burned.
We used to be like team players on midnights because not all of us wanted to do DUIs because they were long and painstaking, sometimes medical clearance, all that kind of shit. But you had 3 or 4 people on a 15-person platoon working on midnights that were down with it. So we were like, all right, you guys are the floats. Like, we don't mind handling the crap. But if we're out here knocking out tickets and stuff to get court time on midnights and stuff, and we come upon a DUI, hey, I'm gonna call you, bro. Like, and then they'd slide over, they'd hit the DUI, and then we all pick up their slack while they're gone. And some of those guys used to do so many in a night that they'd try a competition to see how fast. If they could get 3 in a 10-hour shift, or 3 or 4, like
I only did 2 in a 12-hour shift. That's all I can manage.
Yeah. So you see for people that are watching, it's a long arrest, with the tests, the roadsides, the dealing with that, the transport, the blood alcohol center, doing all that, tests on camera, maybe the medical transport, then the fucking jail book. So it takes a while. Plus all the
All for a misdemeanor.
all for a misdemeanor.
Unless they crash and hurt somebody or they're in a
Of
commission
course.
of a crime. But for the most
sure.
part, it's just a misdemeanor with all the tickets and all the copies. It was a pain in the butt.
yeah.
No wonder, guys. But with me having that traffic experience, I naturally, I talked to the DUI guys, and I became kind of that DUI guy on my shift.
Yeah.
And then my bosses would, at the time, understood I knew how to, and they'd back off. So I go nail my couple of DUIs. So after about a year, day slot, and we had shift pick. So, if you're a junior guy, I don't know if a lot of people know, they just call you and say, all right, these shifts available are this one or this one. Well, I had one available.
Yeah.
It was the shit one. So that's what I'm
take
going
it.
to deal with it. And day shift finally came up and went to day. It's a different world, of course, all eyes on deck watching you and everything you do. And it's hotter, it's different, but I was healthier on days. It was just better for me, and then a couple opportunities came. There was a CRA position popped up, a bicycle unit where you could be community and you help business districts where they're trying to redevelop the area.
Yeah.
So the CRA budgeted for 4 cops and they held interviewing, things like that. And I ended up interviewing it. And, with my retail experience and some other things I've done, I was a pretty good candidate at the time for it. So I got one of those 4 slots. Got a take-home car at the time. For us, it was big because we didn't have them yet.
Oh, okay.
And then bicycle, brand new bike, and we got decked out. My 45, a brand new Glock they gave me, a Glock 23. I'm sorry, the 21. And that's actually the same gun from my shooting. So, it's the one I still have to this day, looking back at it. And we got to do that a couple years, riding around, just being, everyone hated us. They thought we didn't work. I'm not going to lie. I mean, there was times we took advantage of that position, but riding a bike around all day long, and I did do takedowns with Vice and stuff like that, but we weren't heavy on paper.
Yeah.
We're more heavy. That's what we're told to do.
You're out there for visibility. You're out there for talking to people because, your windows aren't rolled up. You're not hiding under a tree in a car. You're out there moving through.
And the best, too.
And then people see you, and then they know they can talk to you. So they can see things, because I used to do it too. And it was cool. But we used to also catch a lot of shit too, or, catch a lot of drugs because people didn't fucking know we were there. Because you sneak right up on them. You got the spokes or the sprocket that didn't. Nowadays they make noise, but back then they were silenced. So you could coast. You just pedal, coast, no clicking of the sprocket or anything like that, and you just roll right up on everything.
All kinds.
Or we'd be on like a greenway going south, and it'd be in the evening. We'd have bike lights and stuff, and people just didn't see us, and they just ride right past us, freaking. And so we were trying to make numbers and stuff. So we'd pull them, we'd zip back around, and they'd be like, holy shit, fucking cops, but you find people in parking lots rolling through neighborhoods and stuff. And you see what's up. So it was
cool, man.
They
They have us on standby in case somebody broke free. And we just ride up, and I did some takedowns off the bike. It was pretty cool. But then I thought I'd be bike certified and get, the whole IPIMBA.
Yeah.
That was going to be my route next, And then I remember one of the hurricanes came through. We were supposed to go to IPIMBA training in West Palm, but that blew that away. And, after the hurricanes went through in 04, 05, and you see the grind. I'm like, all right, what am I going to do now? We're doing little Vice unit stuff where our community patrol turned into, hey, that house is dealing drugs. And then our new boss is like, well, let's do a trash pull. And the next thing you know, the bikes are in the storage, and now we're in unmarked cars, and we became a Vice unit. And we're doing search warrants, and it's everything that I really didn't sign up to do.
Yeah.
But it was still cool to be in a special unit.
Yeah.
Because I always thought the drug, obviously with my mom being a cop and seeing that side of it, all that funding wasn't going anywhere. It was, what taught me not to do drugs, understanding what drugs did in my body, what it does to people, and seeing the crime. That's what I was really passionate about. So doing a search warrant on a guy for some dime bags wasn't exactly my thing, especially with my history, right? Dime bag Eric from college. So, but we would bunch of crack and cocaine, and we had the gang, kind of the Haitian gang wars in 06 going on, so we were doing a lot of heavy patrols and just stopping cars, and then finally I think it was around, I met my wife in 07, 2010 they wanted to go districts, and they just kind of revamped the whole department, so any special unit got it reset. So now I'm back on road patrol, and I'm like, damn, it's been a while. I get a senior zone now, that's kind of cool, but where am I going? So I'm going to FTO school. Maybe I will look at getting promoted, And then 2012, I had my son in January, and then that June was my shooting. of 2012.
Let's take a quick break and let's
Okay.
talk about the shooting and stuff like that. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. What's in the cup? Guys, what's in my cup? Blackout Coffee Company. We joined up with them. I've been drinking it and I enjoy it. And I think you may enjoy it as well. So you can go over to our website and click the link, or you can just go to their website, blackoutcoffee.com, and use our coupon code to get 10% off. The code is DSP10. So go over, check it out. All right, cool. We're back. So you said 2012.
June 12th.
June 12th?
2012, the
6,
same
12,
day
12?
OJ did his deed, and the Pulse nightclub shooting is also June 12th. It's a very, if you look back in history, June 12th, a lot of the religious people talk about it being 666 because you take the 12, you mark it down to 666,
geez,
make it a whole number or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can make anything.
Yeah.
We can make anything
But they're
true.
like, it's the devil's day, right?
Yeah.
And then I started looking at the dates throughout history because I'm curious and put it in there. And you start seeing the OJ, and then Pulse was obviously after mine. Mine was 2012, but I wouldn't know the date when you get shot and you kill somebody, right? It doesn't
yeah.
disappear.
You don't plan. We don't plan for this.
Year later, it's 6/12, and then I got a big scar through my foot and all this stuff from it. So I guess we should get into the shooting.
So what happened?
So I was senior guy, Zone 3, which is like the south end of our city, and we're right next to Delray Beach. That's the border, and it's coming late in the day. The night shift's coming on, so it's that little swing where you're trying not to get jammed up with something too late.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving to play basketball at 6 o'clock, so it's about 4:30, and I put in time to leave at 6. Our schedule was like 9 to 8:30. Then we had a really cool little schedule. It was a mid swing, and I would burn time all the time to leave early because I was a senior.
Yeah.
I had enough time built up, so I was working like 8-9 hour shifts. It was great. So here I am going to go play basketball, and then all of a sudden they sent a bolo out, or a bank robbery, armed bank robbery in Delray Beach. Guy fled going, they didn't know which way. And it was a red Crown Vic with a white top. Red Crown Vic, white top. Sounds like a freaking Pitmobile, right? So I was like, well, I'll keep my eyes out.
This is kind of easy to find. Yeah.
And dispatch sent the 2 night guys. Well, then I look at the board. I'm the only 10-8 guy in the city. So I know this works. And what it means in service. So any hot call, I'm probably going to be going, right? But I still want to play basketball,
Yeah.
And I put myself on the call. I'm like, hey, dispatch, show me bowl in the area. We've all done that. Jumped on a call to just be, And I noticed the red Lincoln Town car with a white top coming over the bridge from the ocean side. And he's just coming over, and I pass by, and I make a U-turn on Federal Highway. And I come back, and I pass him again. And so he's totally seen me at this point, but I don't know that that's my bad guy because it's not even a Crown Vic. It's a Lincoln. But they mess up those cars all the time, right?
Yeah.
White, black guy, they don't even know half the time. So I remember passing him, and I remember seeing him tapping on the steering wheel because I'm looking to see who's in the car. Black male, white male. Call was a black male. And I see a black hand tapping on the steering wheel. Nothing wrong with that, right? Could be listening to music or whatever. And I make another U-turn to see which way he's going to go because he can go towards 95 or he can go north on Federal. So I'm kind of waiting to see what he's going to do because he stopped at a light. And he makes a right turn and starts going north on Federal. And I make a U-turn to get behind him. And he kind of guns it a little bit fast. Not like he's trying to get away, but it's a 35, 40 mile an hour zone. He went up to like 50. So as I catch up to him, I notice a handicap tag. Old timer, Boynton Beach, it's always make fun of us.
Yeah.
But Boynton Beach, we're a busy city. We got every crime imaginable in our little city, like a lot of little cities, right? So it's not uncommon to stop an old guy coming from the beach or something like that. So I remember telling dispatch, I got a maroon car heading north on Federal, trying to catch up to it. It's I can't get the tag yet. I finally get close enough, and he slows down, like, oh shit, cop behind me type of feeling. We get that a lot. People realize you're behind him. And there's a handicap tag calling it out. And then all of a sudden he just stops. I didn't light him up because I was still gathering information at this point. And I turned my rear lights on because now he stopped in the middle of Federal Highway. It's getting close to 5 o'clock. Just let traffic know, hey, I'm stopped here. And I remember telling dispatch, he just stopped here, like 500 South Fed. Just let everyone know where it's at. And it seemed like 20 seconds, dude. I sat there waiting. Right, but it was probably only like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But it was an eternity. And I remember we caught bank robbers before by jumping out and running to the car and, hey, your car matches the description. And they may not have been armed bank robbers. They may have been like had a note.
The note guys.
So that's not my only experience with any type of bank robbery. So I was kind of, I'm not going to jump out because of the armed bank robbery part. Thank God I didn't, because I really think if I would have walked up, I think he would have, got the drop on me at that point, or at least shots fired then. So anyways, after those few seconds, waiting for dispatch to send a backup unit. And I think it was one of those backup units that's on trying to grab food before the shift starts, because he wasn't anywhere near the zone where he's supposed to be, because he never showed up on the call.
Yeah.
Until like later, because he wasn't nowhere near. So that happens a lot in police work.
Yeah.
You think the zone guy's close by, he's not. He might be at home having lunch or dinner or changing. So anyways, the car stops, call it out, waiting on the DUI guy who's now the backup guy coming on shift. And he's like, oh, I'm right down the road. I got his backup. And then the bad guy takes off, just guns it. And now we get a little car chase going on Federal. He makes a right turn through a parking lot where old Bank of America is. I'm like, what's this guy doing? I don't even know Chris is behind me, the DUI cop, because you're not paying attention behind you. So I'm stepping on him on the radio. I'm like, he's making a right. All you hear is, dang, 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 and dispatch is like unreadable,
And most policy technique or procedure is the number 2 guy is the one that's supposed to be calling it out, because you need to be focused on turn by turn. But because you didn't know he was back there, he's trying to talk, because most of us should know one way or the other. So if you're the third guy, just shut the fuck up.
Right.
But because you thought you might have been the only guy, you're calling everything out.
And you're excited. I can hear it in my voice. I was like, I'm a little high there,
Yeah.
But I see Chris behind me, and the lights shining off the bank windows. I'm like, oh, I got another guy with me. Cool. And we end up going up Federal Highway. He makes a right turn on Railroad Avenue, which is one of our industrial areas. And I was like, he must know this area, or he's taking a shortcut to get to 95. They always go 95. That seems to be what they do, at least in Boynton. So before he gets to 95, he's going down Railroad Avenue, and he makes a quick left turn, and he cuts it really tight. Like, he turns into the other lane, and he ends up hitting a car that was coming the opposite way. So you have a car going eastbound, and he's going north, and he makes a left turn to go west, and he hits head on with her. And I'm up on him. So all of a sudden stop, I got to slam on the brakes. And I always remember, I'm not in a very good tactical spot for any kind of felony stop or anything. I'm right there. And he slams, the car rises up, you start seeing the smoke from the front of the hood. Monroe pulls up, Chris pulls up to my right. And I remember getting out of my car, pulling the gun out, thinking, all right, not knowing really what I'm going to do at this point, honestly. You're going to cover the car, you're going to see what happens, really. Is he going to run? That's what he usually do. Is he injured? And the door cracks open, and I see it swinging a little bit, and all of a sudden it was just like, you just start seeing the ground popping up around me, and it's that OOS moment. And I started running to my left, firing back. If we had body cameras, I'm sure I was like gangster style, just trying to get away. I was just trying to get him away from me at that point. But he's also shooting at Chris, so Chris is returning fire. So on my police video, you'll see Chris dancing around, because I'm to the left of my video, because I'm not running in front of my car.
So where's your video from? A car cam?
It's a
like
dash camera, yeah.
Okay.
In 2012, we didn't have body cameras yet.
Yeah.
So it's all dash camera. So you see him hopping around. I go to the left, and he can't get his door open, the bad dude. And I'm just firing at a window, at a spot.
Yeah.
And we never trained on shooting in cars. I would think that would be really good training to have at some old freaking tow yard, let guys fire off rounds or something, just to see it's dangerous. Could bounce back and get you, but at this point we didn't care. So we ended up, Chris got next to me. I remember shooting several times. I remember my magazine. Like, I don't count rounds. And I remember something telling me, you're going to run out of bullets, dude. And right then my slide went back, and I just reloaded.
Yeah.
Nothing. I didn't get a click. I wasn't on top of my game where I knew, it was just something, all the shooting, all the stuff we do all the time seemed to show up at that point. Like, you get a feel when you're going to run out. It's like 5, 6, 7, you're kind of slowly counting anyways. So I reloaded, and we approached the car, and he was still fucking around with shit. And we put another 4 or 5 rounds in him. Overall, we shot about 38 rounds into the car. He was struck 14 times.
14.
He died at the scene.
Yeah.
His finger was blown off. The finger I saw him holding the steering wheel. It was kind of eerie because there were a ring attached to it. And, I ended up seeing crime scene photos and stuff. And, and at that moment where we're backing up, I remember a SWAT guy tapped me on the shoulder because sirens going off, like everything. The moment they're shooting, it was quiet, just like they say. You're just focused, right?
Yeah.
You're not seeing anything else. And then as soon as things were okay for a half a second, I realized I was gonna be all right. It was like sound turn on. sirens going, other units showing up, screaming going on, back away, crossfire, you know, everything you can imagine. And SWAT guy taps me on Detective Marino, and he goes, "We got it." And he got the long gun, so I back away. And then I'm starting to feel pain in my foot. I'm like, what the heck, you know? And I look down and see a hole right through my shoe, like 3 holes through near the big toe, out right through the side. And it's kind of stinging, you know. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. You know, I've been hit harder and stuff like that. And then there's a right graze off my right leg that's bleeding. I'm like, oh, maybe that was rocks or whatever from the ground hitting me.
Yeah.
So then one of the sergeants sat me down and they cut my shoe off. And then you see the, I can't show the pictures because it gets blocked all the time on freaking social media. It's grotesque or something.
Gory.
And it's not even that bad. You see guys die all the time, but you can't show my foot. So anyways, you see the foot injury and then it's like kind of chaos. They get me into the rig and take me to Bethesda. And I remember the AC unit wasn't working in the rig or was sputtering. You know, you had the older cars, AC. And I remember asking the fire guy, I was like, dude, really? There ain't no AC in this thing? And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, dude. You know, he was embarrassed. Like, sorry, this is how we work sometimes. And I go, can I have one of them waters? I'm freaking dying of thirst. And he's like, yeah, you don't want to drink that water. So it was like the worst rig experience, you know. But they finally take me in. And I remember the rep was on the ambulance. Officer Goldfuss was with me. And I'm chatty. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that guy was shooting at us. And we shot him, you know, is he dead? Is he dead? And then the paramedic was like, yeah, he's dead. And then, you know, my rep's like, stop talking, you know, but I couldn't stop talking. So I remember I called my friend that I was playing basketball with, Mike. Yeah. I call him up. I'm like, hey, Mike, I know we only got 10 tonight, but I'm not making it. He's like, what do you mean we only got 10? I got shot. I'm on my way to the hospital. He's like, why are you calling me? Because I'm like, I just want you to know I'm not selling out.
So motherfuck me.
So, and then I called my wife. And then I told her I got shot. And she's like, you okay? I go, yeah, it's just a nick through the foot. She's like, okay. And she hung up.
But a flesh wound.
Yeah. My son's crying in the background. So she's in mom world. And then, you know, you get to the hospital and then units start showing up. And then, you know, they brought my wife and my kid. He cried the whole time. He felt the tension in the air and all that stuff. So, you know, they're pulling out the bullet fragments out of my foot. And I remember the doctor was a very attractive podiatrist. And all the cops were coming in. It wasn't because of me. They were coming to see her, the young doctor. That was you know how that is, hot nurse or whatever. Yeah, scumbags. So anyways, it was all out of love. But anyways, I went home that night, and it was the Heat were playing Oklahoma Thunder. And the first time, you know, Dwayne Wade and the boys got their first title in 2012. I was a big Heat fan then. And I remember sitting there, I go, well, at least I get to watch some of the final. I was home by 11. I had DVR'd it. I had no idea who won. Well, he lost. But at the end of the game, I'm sitting there with 2 Percocets and vodka, you know, trying to figure out what, you know, my foot's in a boot. I'm still in shock, you know? Yeah. And remember, the news story comes on. It's like, tonight at 11, another officer shot in the line of duty. I was like, oh my God, really? You know? I had no idea it was me because we were in one of those series where we had like a canine, a PBSO got shot. It was just like, it was in the air, you know? Yeah. And it was just like not a good time. So I really wasn't anticipating it would be me. And then I was like, man, they don't know my name yet. They're going to release my name. You start thinking about all the other things. And, you know, you talk to the PIO and she's like, hey, we're releasing your name on Thursday. Yeah. And then they go through your records. And luckily I was pretty straight. You know, I didn't have a lot of, you know, write-ups or anything bad.
This wasn't your 6th shooting in 2 years or whatever.
There was no body count really on my, my list. So, and I killed a real bad guy. You know, Chris and I both did. I mean, it turns out, I think it was 4 death shots. 2 from a 45 and 2 from a 40. So Chris and I both, he shot a 40, I shot a 45. Okay. So when we got honored at the Marlins game and they asked us what numbers to get, we got 45 and 40. Yeah, and nobody knew. We're on stage like, yeah.
Oh, hilarious. Yeah, so, I love that. I love that kind of like hidden nuance to the story. So with your foot injury, would you say, because you mentioned that there was like rounds hitting the ground and stuff, do you just think that you may have picked up one of those rounds with the way he was shooting at you guys? Yeah, I mean, and you just picked it up, and then your adrenaline, it's your foot for the most part, as long as it doesn't blow your ankle out. You could probably move around. We stub our toe. We step on rocks or glass and we still get through the house to get to the kitchen to clean our foot or something like that or whatever. So you think, and then without adrenaline, for what I'm explaining, you've got 100% adrenaline.
It was it wasn't a mechanical injury. It didn't, like you said, it didn't take out the ankle bone, didn't shatter my shin bone or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just muscle damage and nerves.
Yeah.
I mean, I still
Flesh
can't feel
tissue.
my big toe.
Okay.
You know, if I'm sitting at a campground and talking about camping, you know, there's ants around. I got to make sure they're not fucking gnawing on my big toe. You know?
So you've got nerve damage that never really reconnected
Yeah,
or
that
regrouped.
big old 4% disability they gave me or whatever. But yeah, you know, it took a lot of rehab, you know, and then, you know, the aftermath, you know, you're kind of sitting around and, you know, you're in light duty status for a little bit, you know, and I had a new son, brand new. He was only 5 months old. So all of a sudden I'm at home a lot, you know, and I'm playing Assassin's Creed all the time. Me and my little boy. I got the tattoo. Yeah, it was just like, that was and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then we got honored, you know, you get Officer of the Month, and then, you know, it starts getting a little bit bigger. And then we were Officers of the Year, and then Palm Beach County off, you know, at the PBA, we got Officers of the Year. And then we got invited to Washington, D.C. in 2013 as National Officers of the Month for February.
Oh, wow.
And we got these cool lion statues. They're around. Some cool people have them. And it was just, I mean, what a bunch of, I was up there with the guys that took down the Boston Boston bombers. So they were all up there.
Mark Wahlberg. No, I just didn't.
It wasn't. But it was just guys that had like risked their lives. You know, it was just a cool class. And I remember being up in DC, and that's one of the things the boys talk about. You know, it's this drunk fest up there in DC. And I was still drinking then. I remember being in my duty, you know, class A's and having beers. It was just, it went against everything else. You know, we used to take our uniform off, be sipping beers and shit on our way home.
But it's an amazing thing to feel the connection for the profession across the board. You know, drinking aside, drinking's fun. I enjoy it. But like, why we're there, talking to hearing people, hearing stories, you know, police week stuff, you know, just talking to somebody who's like, yeah, I'm here honoring, like, this band is the band that I put on the day that one of my best friends got shot and killed, and hearing those stories. And it's like, yeah, this is why we're here. The alcohol might loosen us up a little bit psychologically so that we can talk about that kind of stuff. But you learn a lot of stuff, and you learn that, you know, some of the shit that we see in South Florida is way bigger. Some of the stuff we see on a daily basis is stuff that some of these agencies don't see but once a year, twice a year sometimes. And sometimes some of the shit we see is stuff that they see on an hourly basis, depending on where people are from. So it's I like it. The police week I've gone probably 8 times in my career. And I look forward to doing it again after. I have the retired badge that I'll wear, you know, and go. And I still think it's a cool thing. And then with Donut Shop, I've got a purpose to advertise. I wear a backpack that has all my Velcro patches all over it. And people will just stop me and be like, why do you have 25 of the same patch on your backpack? And I go, because I go rip one off. I go, let's talk, you know, and then, you get some, you know, your advertising. And then maybe I can write the trip off, you know, as a business expense. I still don't know how to do that. But.
Yeah, I've looked at that too, trying to get a booth or something up there. Cause I supposedly, since we were honored, that's another thing I'll get to. When we were honored at the luncheon, you know, you're supposed to have like a little speech or something like that. But our department was in change then. So our department didn't send anybody.
Yeah, wow.
We had an empty table. It was just Chris, his wife, my wife.
Oh.
And my mom came and my stepdad came. So the 2 Miami sergeants and stuff. So it was just that. So they announced our chief. He ain't at the table. We had nobody. Every other table's packed, dude. It's like a rock concert. I never forgot that. You know, talk about that thin blue line, right?
That is a big deal. I've seen that a lot. Like a friend of mine died, motorman out of Pembroke Pines, Charlie Herring, a couple years ago, and his wife. Social media, I saw a lot of support through the department. You know, she told me about how the family, or, you know, the department was there a lot. I was up there. The last time I went was the year that his name went on the wall, and the amount of Pembroke Pines Police Department or police officers I saw there was huge. And no matter what the agency has going on, turmoil wise and stuff like that, it's the families of the fallen, and then even the ones that are still here to this day, you know, the survivors of an incident, still need that respect from the command staff. Needs to make sure that they, you know, whatever, if it's budgetary concerns or whatever, fucking make sure somebody's there, even if it's a captain or something like that. Make sure there's a representative there.
I know. That was one of the disappointing things. I look back at it. I mean, it was, other than that, it was a great experience, of course, you know, and your, the candlelight visual was just, oh my God, I cried like crazy, dude. And it was very emotional, you know, but the bagpipes, and like I said, it was a great experience. And coming back, you know, I forgot to say, after about 6 months after my shooting, I was back on the road and hypervigilance out of control. Every call, I have a shooting played out in my head.
Yeah.
You know, this is how it's going to go down. This is what I'm going to do. Oh, it's just an alarm call.
Because it happened. You've seen it.
I'm going through a backyard. I remember one of the calls I couldn't calm down from. It was a simple alarm call, and I go around the back, check in the back, and there's a bike leaned against the side of the house. Yeah, doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but I've seen burglars park their shit on the side of houses too. So mine a little more elevated. Get to the slider. You know, you check doors, slides open. Now I got an open door. All right. Another unit, you know, that's 1033, which is silent traffic. Search the house, nothing. You know, come back. Oh, neighbor, you know, or the guy left it open.
Yeah.
But when I get back in my car, I'm freaking already had a shootout in my head.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's the next call, you know, traffic crash. And then the next thing. And then it's like over time, it's like my central nervous system really went out of control. That's where the drinking comes in. The bad diet, and, you know, all this other stuff. So my wife goes, hey, something's going on. You should probably talk to somebody. And this is when you don't know what to fucking do, because you're like, well, what do I do? You know? So I remember I talked to a boss. Actually, evidence came up. That's what happened. There was an evidence job that came up. Who wants evidence? You know, the last evidence people got caught stealing, so now they got cops in evidence. You know, it seems to rotate
I've heard
back.
this story in my own department.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
So nobody wants evidence, but I wanted evidence because it's Monday to Friday. I work with one other guy, and I didn't have to battle vacations. I could learn something different, you know, just get off the road. I don't want to be promoted right now. Just let me reset. And I got a young kid at home, so ended up getting the evidence job. I actually rode that out till I retired. I got really good in there, and, you know, it was very trustworthy. I wasn't skimming, you know, stealing any weed or anything. I looked at that weed all the time, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be like, hey, baby, one day I'll see you in the future, you know. But I took that job seriously. I liked the scheduling. I learned a lot about evidence handling and procedures. And I thought maybe that's what I'll fall back into when I retire. You know, I don't have to be a cop for school board. I can work the administrative side and evidence or whatever. So that was kind of my plan, you know. And, you know, around 2015, new chief is in, kind of wondering, why is there a cop in evidence making 80 grand a year when we can pay 2 civilians 40 grand each? So you start hearing that, and I think I'm going back to the road again.
Yeah.
And there was a couple other calls that happened where I had my gun out almost when I was still on the road, and guys were reaching for their IDs. They weren't even reaching for, they were just scared, man. And I almost pulled the trigger twice, because I would have been justified for them reaching and not obeying my commands, reaching in their pockets. I could articulate. I was terrified.
Yeah.
You know? But I would have shot two people that probably didn't deserve to be shot because they were scared. And that's what he said. He's like, I was scared, officer. Never had a gun pointed at me. I just wanted to give you my ID so you didn't hurt me. I was like, oh shit, I almost shot you, dude. You know? So I'm worried about going back to the road, and I don't know how to battle this PTSD thing. You know, like, I don't feel good. You know, every time I go qualify, it's like glasses are fogging up. Like, I'm back in it every time. So I do get a little emotional about it. So, sorry.
Yeah.
So you're stuck. Like, what do I do? So I go talk to one of my bosses. He's now a chief of police out in New Mexico. And he goes, you got to go EAP. Go talk. You know, that's an employee assistance program. I didn't know anything about it. I always heard bad shit about it. No, don't go tell them. You know?
Rubber gun squad kind of stuff. Yeah.
So I did it anyways. I went in and talked to this lady, and she was like, yeah, you're pretty messed up. You probably need to go talk to somebody. Well, then what? I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Right? So then the next point was I talked to my foot doctor, because I had another surgery in 2014 for my foot. I had a cyst or something growing in there. So I asked him, well, you're my workers' comp doctor right now. And he's like, I don't know anything about PTSD.
Yeah.
So another dead end. I'm like, what am I supposed to freaking do now? You know, this is about 2015, like I said. So one of I think it was my buddy Chris or somebody else, gave me a card for a lawyer. So I called this lawyer. He goes, nah, you don't need to talk to me. You need to talk to this guy. And it was a workers' comp lawyer. So I talked to this guy, Mike, and he was great. He was like, oh, dude, we'll take care of, you know, typical lawyer fashion. You know, we got this, all this stuff. But all I wanted to do was go get therapy through, psychologists. I didn't want pills. I just wanted to talk, whether it was group therapy or whatever. I guess that's what I really needed to do with it. So he had me then file the right paperwork. I had to fight workers' comp. They were fine with covering the foot stuff. But the minute you bring in another claim, now they're going to resist you on it.
Yeah.
So I had to fight with lawyers in a boardroom. They made me break down, make sure I was damaged. And then they sent me to an independent psychologist, one of theirs. And then I remember one of the things that's funny. I read through the whole booklet of what he observed in our 2-hour conversation. The first thing he said was, here's Eric Reynolds, 42 or whatever I was, a rather plump male. Plump. Call me plump.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit round then. I'm not going to lie. He wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
So I always took back in my keto journey. So anyways, he ended up saying, yeah, I probably needed this route. So I found Dr. Barnett in Palm Beach Gardens. And I saw him for 5 years until I retired. 2 weeks, every 2 weeks I go see him. It's freaking great. He talked to my wife. He talked to my kids. I had a second son at the time. The second kid was like 2 or 3, but he was wanting to see the whole family dynamic of what was going on with us.
The support structure.
Yeah, and he talked to them without me in the room, which was torture because you're like, oh my God, they're gonna fucking tell him I'm drinking too much. All this stuff you don't want to tell your therapist, right? And it turned out to be very beneficial for me. And then other cops would ask me, hey, I heard you're talking to somebody. And I tell people, I wasn't hiding it. It wasn't a big secret in our little 160-man department either. I mean, you can't keep a secret like that. So other guys started seeing it. I mean, you didn't know each other's business, but my therapist would say, hey, I got a lot more activity coming. I guess you're talking to people or something like that.
I mean, we have a habit of doing that with everything. You find a good real estate agent in the department. You find a plumber. I got a pool guy, a drywall guy, a lawn guy, whatever. Everybody in police work where we trust each other, hopefully, and so when you find somebody good, you don't want to get screwed. We want to pay the best rate. So we start to look for recommendations, and that would probably be one of the most difficult recommendations in law enforcement or first responders to find would be mental health services. And as somebody who deals with mental health, myself or in my family and stuff, it's not easy to find the right person because they're not all correct. Just like you can't find a wife walking into a room,
right?
You see the signs in different places that they still might not be the right person for you. So that chemistry that you're going to find with a therapist or a psychologist, which I've also learned there's differences. There's therapists, there's psychologists, there's one other one. There's a drug version, and then there's the psychoanalyst. Like there's all different kinds of variety. So you got to find the right person for you. I remember
Dr. Barnett, when I walked in the room and he goes, all right, Eric, you're going to have to learn how to dance with this. Straight up, your central nervous system is freaking out. And in a way, every time you sleep, you're not going to sleep as deep. You're not going to be as social because we've tried it your way, Eric. We almost died. So now we got to protect ourselves. So you get more hyper vigilant. You start playing out like it was totally just wearing away on me, and he helped. And then 2016, like I was telling earlier before we started the show, Joe Crowder, our canine guy, died of a heart attack jogging, off duty. Yeah. And it's like, man, that killed that dude. And I was about 245 pounds when he died in 2016. In evidence, getting a little plump, sitting down,
sedentary job.
Even though I played ball, I was still gaining weight, and I was trying to eat. Stress, I mean, I was still trying to handle, the drinking wasn't helping, and I didn't have I didn't know really what was going on really until later. So, Joe passes away, and then it's this whole, I did a documentary, just happened to walk, it was called Cops in Cabins. It's in 2017. They took 8 of us cops. We went up to Blue Ridge Mountains in Georgia.
Oh, you were in it?
Yeah. I was actually in it. What happened was we were all getting together, and one guy happened to be a film guy. So he's like, you mind if I film some of this? And we're like, okay. Well, he turned it into a documentary in about 19 minutes. And it's really cool. And it shows how we all got together. We all have similar trauma. And we go down those hills to go down to town for breakfast. And we have the question of the day, like your most embarrassing time as a cop. And dude, we had 8 different stories that were the most hilarious. I mean, we bonded over that weekend. And it was, bad stories, and it was other things, divorce. Who's got the craziest divorce? And you're like, you want to talk about wild stories, right?
Yeah.
So it was such a good time. I remember thinking, man, I just made like friends for life with these guys. I could call them up anytime, even if we don't talk every day. So that planted a seed. So in 2019, there's a lot to get to, but I found a brother through DNA that was an Orlando cop. And so again, we were interviewed on Fox and Friends. It was a crazy deal. So here I'm retiring. I find this brother who's Orlando cop. He's been into camping. My wife's been trying to get me into camping. I'm like, I don't know anything about towing vehicles except calling a 1060 out to tow from a crash, right? I'm like, I don't know. Do I need a CDL license? Like, I had no idea what to do. So my brother Dave and I, we ended up renting one through RV Share, and I tried it out. I'm like, oh man, this is pretty cool. We're at the beach. I can just walk out from my cabin, or my little trailer is small. My stuff's there,
Yeah.
And we decided to sell our house, and my wife convinced me to let's buy a trailer and let's go travel the country. We were already homeschooling. My kids were 8 and 4 then, so it's still early.
Let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. We're good on time with that, so that's what I wanted before we transition. You're running a transition, so all right, we'll be right back. Yo, what's up, everybody? I want to let you know I have a new website format. Same website, donutshoppodcast.com, but this time I'm running it through Shopify. Make it much easier to purchase items because aside from the hats that I have up there, Donut Shop Podcast, PVC hats, the blue line snapback, laser mesh, nice and clean on the inside, comfy hats. I have some other swag, t-shirts, can koozies, just some other stuff that I put up there. I'm running the website through Shopify, and so it'll make it real easy for you guys to go on and purchase some stuff and support the show. So thanks for tuning in and following the show, and don't forget donutshoppodcast.com. Thanks. All right, we're back. We can come back in. So you're getting into the cops and campers mentality, but
Right.
you're learning about it. So renting an RV, is it? So it's when you say campers, you're talking RVs where it's a full on vehicle or a trailer, or it doesn't discriminate.
We tow. We have a big F-350.
Okay.
So it could be either a fifth wheel or a bumper pull.
My cousin did that same thing. They sold their house, and he was in like the corporate world where he could work remotely. His wife was in pharmaceuticals, so she's like a nurse practitioner as well, and so she kind of just like backed off of that, did a little bit of it online, but homeschooled their kids.
Yeah.
They had an Airstream. He had the F-350, bikes on the roof, and they went and they just had to be near an airport because once in a while he'd need to fly out to go work, and then she handled the same thing. So
we met
they
a
did that for
ton
a
of
couple years.
people. One guy I met, he was in Asheville, North Carolina. They stayed at a park, and he ran a landscaping business. How's a guy moving up? Well, he would just circle this Asheville and stay at different campgrounds for that rotation that you're allowed to. Some parks are 2 weeks, some are a month.
Some 30 days,
and they would just rotate. So he would sometimes drive 45 minutes to do his work. Sometimes it'd be 20. That blew my mind that you would work like that.
Yeah.
Right. But as you get into it, you realize a lot of people thrive on working on the road, different environments, as long as you can. And I didn't know that world. I wasn't a corporate sales guy. I was a cop. He had his own.
Yeah. And although when I got into the job because I didn't necessarily want to do the corporate lifestyle, go to the same office every day, do the same monotonous stuff. But even though every call is different every day, the job is still the same every day.
Yeah.
You become still very military regimented about everything you do, all this stuff. So it's like all the stuff is the same. So it's where now I'm seeing in retirement that it's like life isn't necessarily that exact same thing. It's a little bit, but so the being disconnected from roots is kind of a change.
And I'd kind of gone through that looking back in my life. I mean, my parents had, 8 marriages, so I was in different places, different schools. So I was kind of used to the change. So it wasn't that bad for me, honestly. It was just learning what to do, like how do you tow and, all the ins and outs of that.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, we're looking at campers, like I was saying, we sold our house. And I found this brother that's a cop, getting to know this guy. I still got to tell my dad he's got a son, so we got to go through all that stuff, and my brother Dave ended up finding both his birth parents. So it's kind of a cool story.
Oh, wow.
And his mom died of cancer, and it's just a whole crazy thing. So all this is going on, and then I get a call. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Narcos series, right?
Yeah.
No big deal, but I get a call from a guy that says he's a producer for the Narcos series. And I'm like, Dave, we're going to Hollywood, thinking they're going to make a movie about the two cop brothers. And the guy says his name is Dave Myro, and he's an executive producer for Narcos, and they want to talk to my mom. Of course, I want to talk to my mom, right? The badass homicide, baddest cop in the land. So I ended up getting in touch with my mom, and then they ended up making a series called Griselda that was on Netflix.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So that Detective June Hawkins in the series, that's my mother. So she gets the star role of this actress playing my mom. They get hired by Netflix. My stepdad gets hired by Netflix because he's also a
So
homicide
your mom
sergeant.
consulted, or she acted?
She was a consultant.
Consultant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So she calls it her Griselda kitchen or Narcos kitchen that she had built,
Oh, okay. The
Some
money
of
she
the
got
extra,
from
yeah,
it?
yeah. So finally she got a little cut, right?
Yeah, yeah, hell yeah.
So it was such a cool time, Sofia Vergara was playing Griselda because back in those days, my mom was doing the undercover work. I was like 5, and she's doing just, the wiretaps, whatever they had back then, because she understands Spanish, being Cuban.
Yeah.
So she had this great career. So we have the Netflix people calling, then we got my brother Dave, and then all of a sudden Amazing Race calls us. They're like, Dave and Eric, we want you guys to audition for Amazing Race. I'm like, Dave, we're going to Hollywood, right? It's so
Shit.
much fun.
Oh, I didn't even know this.
All right,
That's
this
awesome.
is crazy. So sometime in December, we're flying out to LA for casting. We're two straight-laced dudes, man, and I'm a little bit more engaging than he is. He's more stoic, he's my older brother, which is kind of shit. He's the older brother now. He wasn't the older brother all the other times with all the other siblings, right? But, so we get this, and they go audition for Amazing Race. We fill out the application. We had to send a demo tape in. And they're like, all right, we're going to have you fly up in December for casting. We have 12 groups, and they usually go 10. Dave and I didn't know anything about Amazing Race. I didn't know what it was about. Now we're binge watching every episode from Wire, making baskets with a tribe to jumping out of planes and singing. We're going through I go, Dave, I'm not jumping out of a plane. He's like, well, I'm not singing. I go, well, I'd rather sing than jump out of a plane, right?
Yeah.
We're going through all this stuff. And then they say, hey, guys, we decided to go with the first 10. We're going to push you back to February. So we're going to fly in February. Well, COVID shows up. We get delayed. They don't know it's COVID, pandemic and all that stuff hadn't quite started. So they delayed us again. And then restrictions happen. I remember that summer when they're flipping police cars, there's election year and all that shit. I remember calling the agent, the casting guy. I'm like, hey, you guys still interested in the two cops from South Florida? And like, yeah, we're not doing the cop thing right now. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Because that was when everything went away, when
BLM.
live PD, cop TV shows kind of dwindled down because cops were the greatest storytelling for television. You've got the Law and Orders, NYPD, everything. People like watching it, but then all of a sudden everybody hated cops. So nothing was good. Yeah.
It probably saved us because I really think I would have probably had anxiety being in another country trying to make ends meet with my older brother. I don't know, and he's a sergeant. He's already outranked me too. So I'm just gonna be fighting with this dude.
Oh man, I was hoping you guys did that because my wife and I love to travel and we love watching that show and when talk about how we would function with each other under stress, that kind of stuff, and we were like,
they loved the concept at the time. It was like two brothers don't know each other. They're probably gonna fight.
Yeah. And they're both cops, machos, and all that kind of stuff. People sometimes stick their head in the door, looking. Or sometimes I've been in here on a Monday, and they're like, "Oh, we have a corporate staff meeting here," and I'm like, "Yo, I've paid through whatever time." So they're like, "No, you paid. Like we just assume the room's open," and they come walking in, or whatever. I got to meet some corporate manager from Connecticut or something like that.
That's cool.
I was kind of hoping she would sponsor the show.
I know, not yet.
Not yet. Someday.
They want the Dunkin' Donuts podcast. That's what they want.
Yeah. Hey, whatever. You want to pay me lots of money, and then fine. But so Amazing Race didn't happen.
So it ends up not happening. But meanwhile, we get our camper and we start, hey, let's go travel the country. And we stayed. My mom at the time retired in Tennessee, so we're like, we'll go through Tennessee, learn the ropes, and as I'm camping, I'm realizing there's a lot of retired veterans and first responders at camp, and I put my police, flag up, and I would meet people. And, I never even got into the keto journey and the carnivore thing that happened when I lost, 80 pounds, changing my diet, So at the time, I am a 180-pound retired cop, not on medication. I look a lot younger than I really am. And it's easy to start a conversation with these guys. And a lot of these older people are on medications. They're unhealthy. They're not enjoying their retirement. You know, they're depressed. A lot of them are alone because they've burned every bridge of relationship they've already had. They're like damaged warriors, right? So I started seeing that. And then, you know, we get together with little campfires and kind of have these little kind of talks, but nothing really cemented anything to me. And then we got to New York. We're up there to go see Niagara Falls. Go see the big falls and all that. And my wife, her family, she's a Brooklyn girl, even though she's been in Florida the last 30 years. But she was like, hey, we're only a couple hours from the city. My family's all crazy and they want to see what this whole camping life's about. So, you know, how about we stay somewhere near the city? It was a campground 2 hours outside of New York City.
I was going to say, you can camp right next to the Statue of Liberty.
Well, this is 2021. So everything was still, you know, Biden was in office. I didn't know what the mask mandates were.
Yeah, you had to have like a fucking vaccine passport to get into the city.
So
okay.
I was like, I don't know. But part of our 1,000 Trails camping club, there was a Roundout Valley campground. I got 8 days booked in. We'll drive over there. Your family come see us. Hey. So the first day we get there, put up my flag and the camper. And it usually takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get set up. And you're hooking up hoses and all this stuff. Put my flag up. My kids are playing at the playground. I walk over there. I just made a cocktail. That's how I just made it because I wasn't getting drunk setting up the RV. I was very, professional. I wait till alcoholism kicked in later.
Yeah.
So this guy rolls up in a golf cart, green shirt. I can tell he worked there. I saw him when we pulled in and he goes, hey man, he's like, you got to take your flag down. I was like, that's a good one. Thought he was fucking with me, messing with me. Like either he's a fireman, he wants to know what a real hero is like, or no, just kidding. That's a joke from my fireman. Yeah. And he goes, nah, you got to take your thin blue line flag down. And I got this vibe that he's serious. So I turned on my phone and I'm going to record this SOB telling me to take my flag down because I'm irate all over the news what's going on, and the thin blue line flag. I mean, my mom's she's got friends on the wall in DC we saw. So I don't want to hear about this thin, BLM, this war. My war is like, we go back so much further than you guys. So he tells me to take my flag down. I turn on the recorder. I'm recording him video. And I go, why don't you tell me again what you're telling me to do? I'm a little agitated. I can feel myself grow. And I hadn't been in the red in a long time, like really mad. I get mad at my kids, but not like this mad. This was like a different angry. And he goes, you need to take down your thin blue line. He says it as I'm recording him. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm like, I start saying, I got dead cops in my army. I got shot in the line of duty. I fucking went off. I was stumbling on my words. I was so freaking angry. And I ended up turning it off, the recording. It looks like I'm about to freaking just annihilate
Put it down and annihilate.
Yeah. So everyone's like, what happened? So he ends up driving off because I was like, go ahead and see what happens to you touch that flag, right? So I go into the camper. I'm all hot now. They send the management over. And I call her Devil Woman. She's on TikTok. She comes walking up. You need to stop recording me. I'm like, nah, I can record you if I want. It was great being on that side of it, right?
Yeah.
And because usually you're like, stop recording. And she's like, we're calling the cops on you. You've been asked to leave. You have to take your flag down. They were totally the other BLM supporters. In other words, that's what ended up happening at this campground. I had no idea. No one warned me. They didn't say there was a flag rule. I saw Canadian flags. I saw military flags. I saw kids' flags. Like, it's just flags, So we get into them, recording her too, and then I keep getting mad and they're going to call the cops. So my wife calms it down. I go inside. I don't want to talk to them. And then I'm like, what am I going to do? And then I lose it again. I come back out again. I would have probably been 10, 15 if the cops were there. Because I already
back out. Wait a minute. I thought about it some more.
That's exactly what I did, dude. Exactly. I didn't want to be that guy. But I was that guy and I was hot. And it meant more to me at that point. So I end up taking the flag because I had put it in the ground. I'm like, they own the ground. I'm like, I'm going to stripe my freaking truck. I'm going to stripe the trailer in a thin blue line flag. That was all I was thinking. Yeah. So I put the flag in the truck. So it's in there visible, but it's not on the property. And we're going to leave the next day. I'm like, fuck this, we're leaving. And I'm like, man, we just drove 6 hours to get here. We have this place for 8 days. So I go, let's just make it work. And I put every police thing I had outside. Everything. My blanket was the picnic table. The T-shirts, every T-shirt I had was on a chair, folding chair. Cups, coins, whatever. It was like a thin blue line sale going on. Yeah. Put my flags out. I put them right back out. And word got out. I put the guy, telling me to take the flag down on Twitter or social media. Cops start asking questions. People are like, what's your flag policy? It gets all the way up to corporate 1,000 trails. Well, they get the video and they suspend me for 2 months
As
for
a user.
being belligerent to their staff. And they still never answered the flag thing. So now it's just growing and growing. Well, Blaze Gomez comes out for Hudson Valley News. They do a big news story on it. They had me fake camp, which is funny. They had me throw firewood on a... So all that news footage is fake, everybody. In case you ever wonder, it's all staged. They had me climb up a ladder. Like, do some camping stuff. I'm like, want me to climb the ladder? And they're like, yeah, I climbed the ladder. Well, that's in the story.
Yeah.
So they make it all dramatic. We see flags here. We see flags there. Their policy is weak. So I'm becoming a flag guy. I just want to be Keto 5 O guy, help guys out, nutrition. So 1,000 Trails suspends me. Now I'm thinking, what are we going to do for 2 months? I already had kind of the schedule planned out through Maine and all this stuff. I'm like, I got to rebook everything. And then first it was a campground reached out on Twitter, says, hey, anyone know this cop? The guy tell him to bring his flag, his RV, and his family. He's staying with us.
Yeah.
So that was Scott Sherwood in Ithaca, New York, at a Spruce Road campground. So he says, hey, come on out. So he books 2 weeks for me. And there's a police event charity that weekend.
Cool.
So I'm meeting they call me Flag Guy. I'm Flag Guy now. Yeah, Flag Guy. I should have sold flags. That would have been a big business strategy then. So I started meeting guys. They're giving me challenge coins all over the place. They're like, way to stand up, da-da-da. And I'm like, man, this is cool. The band was the corrections and some cop guys. And I'm like, we should do this every year right here.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, let's do it. So we started, all right, we're going to do cops and campers. So meanwhile, they have a rally for me back in the place where the whole incident happened. So I drive back there. There's a rally, a parade. We meet at Tractor
Not on
Supply.
property, but like
Outside.
Oh.
We meet at Tractor Supply. And this is New York. They're all conservative. It was F. Cuomo then. They hated it. They just get outvoted by that shit.
Yeah,
city.
everybody outside of the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tons of support. I remember pulling up at the Tractor Supply and there's flags everywhere. So I'm thanking people. I feel like I'm running for office, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not even a New York cop. I'm a Florida cop that got in trouble in New York, of course, So we do this parade and we going through all these liberal towns. They're flicking us off. They hate us. Big trucks clogging up, smogging up. It was great. So then the New York State Police stop us from going to the park. We were going to the campground. We had a bunch of cops that had booked inside there. They did it all. And they were going to whip their flags out, like some Valhalla stuff. Like, what are you going to do with 35 of us with flags, right? So it was cool, but the state police stopped us. They must have got word from the flyers, social media stuff. And they turned us away to this parking lot. We have a little, I thank everybody. I'm in the back of the truck. We're going to start cops and campers, And then I got 3 more invites to different campgrounds all up through upstate New York. Ogdensburg, Stowe, Cape Vincent. I mean, like where you can see Canada, St. Lawrence rivers, like these.
Cool.
It was beautiful. And so they covered the 2 months we were suspended. And then I ended up saying, we're going to just go to pro first responder campground. So then I started looking that kind of like, well, where do cops go? There's not really any place, you see a rally here or there or something, but there's no real guide for it. So I started a little Facebook group, Instagram, you do all the little social media stuff because I had it for Keto 5 O. And then we had the rally in 2022, our first, Cops and Campers event. We did a documentary. It's on YouTube. It's about 30 minutes long. The same guy that did the Cops and Cabins one came back for this.
Cool.
Filmed it. And, we use it for advertising and also for people to see what goes on in this event. And it's the wives get together, the kids get together. It's like hay rides, it's swimming. We have live band on Saturday night. We have cornhole tournaments. Whatever the vibe of that city is. Like if there's kayaking, we'll kayak, if it's whatever's, there's an Apple, like I know in LJ, Georgia, over there in Blue Ridge, they have little festivals. So we make the festival a part of it. So I've done about 7 different events, 3 in Georgia and I think 4 in New York. And we're having this October in Arley, Alabama, we're having our 8th event. And we expect to sell that campground out. And it's not, it doesn't cost a lot. I have RVs that can be rented. I got tents. There's Airbnbs nearby if you don't want to do the camping, but you just want to come for the events, it's just really low. It's camping.
Yeah.
Campfires. It's going to be barbecue. Of course, carnivore. I'm going to have a lot of meat options and not so much bad options. I don't want to ignore the drinking. I know guys are going to want to have a good time, and hey, it's about decompressing, reconnecting, finding new fishing buddies, finding a new circle to hang with. Because when we get out of this job, you miss it. Yeah. You miss the lineup. You miss like the camaraderie you had. And not everybody you get along with, but there's still that, feeling. And I played team sports. you know, and all my life I had a little group, a little pack, right? And then when you retire, I was seeing it. Guys are missing it. They get lonely. They're missing something. So now I've got them together, and you know, we got fishing groups that go do their own thing. We've networked with hunting clubs. Guys want to go hunting with their families. I mean, I can at least get them in touch with those people.
My parents do it. My parents have a Class C Jayco, and they're gone for all in total 6 months out of the year. They're off doing different rallies. Like they were just at Margaritaville, outside of in Texas, Corpus Christi area.
Okay.
There's a Margaritaville. The entire place was rented out for Jaycos, all the exact same. It was just like a mirror image car meetup of the exact same RV.
Yeah.
And so everybody is there. And then there's like a concert that they do. They've gone to the what's the jazz festival in New Orleans? There's like a big jazz fest, but
Yeah.
it's not just jazz, it's all kinds of music, but it's a huge concert event. They've gone to there's like a Jayco thing up in Perry, Georgia that they go to, and it's cool because there's all kinds of vendors there that teach you all the different things about all the different RVs and stuff.
Yeah.
And my dad's like thought about going to this school. You can go to like 2 or 6 week school for RV repair in Texas. And because my dad always ends up being like the handyman, like fixing stuff on people's campers or RVs or whatever, because shit goes wrong and you get people that are new to it that don't necessarily, or maybe didn't fix up shit in their own house or
Right.
something like that, and they're very similar. And so my dad's always that kind of a guy, but they've made a lot of friends. And then they're on one called Fantasy Tours, where they've done Alaska, they've left Florida and they meet up like it's somewhere in the Northwest, and then they start the journey up through Canada into Alaska. And so there's all the campgrounds are picked all the way through.
Yeah.
You have a headmaster and then a tail. So it's like the first one leaves and then everybody can leave. And then the last one makes sure that everybody's out and then they go. And there might be 30 or 40 different RVs as part of it. And yeah, they've got different events like what you're saying. So those are all cool because they've made some interesting friends, all walks of life, all kind of stuff. A guy and his wife that retired from our police department, they also bought a Jayco brand RV, and then they met up with my parents. And so the guy's like sending me pictures like, yo, look who I'm with. And they're driving on a golf cart with my parents. And I'm like, fucking weird. You're hanging out with my parents? Like, okay, cool.
It is so dope, man. What a chill vibe. And everyone's usually pretty happy because you're camping.
Yeah.
Because even the weekenders, as we call them, the people that come on the weekends are happy because they're like, oh, I'm finally camping, So one of the things we get asked about is how do we do the homeschool with this type of life, traveling around for campground.
Yeah.
But when you homeschool, your studies are with you. There is online stuff. We're more old school. We don't follow a curriculum in Florida. There's 3 ways to do it. You get tested by the state, or you can go to an individual teacher, or you can be part of a group. And we're part of the homeschooling group in Palm Beach County, so we get our information reviewed once a year. We put together information of what the kids have learned and what their experiences are. And with our life, let me tell you, it's museums, it's everything you can imagine. We do oddball things from farmers markets to we go to farms and work on farms, and we've done all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's always a packed thing that they've done, and we do the basics. They're not reading. They learn how to read without the school system, so that's been one of the good things. And there's groups, there's homeschooling networks within the RV world. You find out, you get along, we call it the 4 for 4, when both our kids and then the mom and the dad all get along with each other. It's very hard, because usually there's one that messes it up. Either the woman's just terrible or the dude's a douchebag or whatever. So, and then you keep in touch with them. So you put together your own network like your parents have done, and now you got them for kids, and all of a sudden you get to the same campground and you got 20 kids and you all kind of know each other.
Right. And it's like being at a school.
Exactly.
Because now you could all have recess together or do a group activity, or, hey, a couple parents can take a break.
Music class, or somebody knows how to, there's always skills. These guys, like you were saying, the RV techs, that's one of the things. You want to make some good money, you could just travel and be an RV tech. They're always looking.
Yeah, because on that, just like if you were on a wagon train, freaking going to Utah, 200, 150 years ago, people got to have different certain skills. So it's like if your RV starts to break down, and somebody there can help fix things or get stuff working again for you so you can get on moving, everybody's got to go,
Yeah.
otherwise you die on the side of the road with dysentery or something like
Yeah.
that kind of thing, so
Yeah, and also cleaning the RVs. I got my 14-year-old thinking of different ideas how he can hustle. And I'm like, dude, you could start washing these people's RVs.
dog walkers.
Dog walkers are big too. Dogs are a little pain in the ass though.
Yeah.
It's so funny in the camping world. It's just like those old school cartoons where the dogs match the owner.
Yeah.
It's crazy how
Yeah.
that's so true. And then you got this big old dog that these people are trying to force into camping, and that dog doesn't want to be a camper in a little camper. It's a big, it's a hound,
Yeah.
So you see a lot of that. But overall, we did keep a Florida house. It's kind of a family house. People have rotated in it. Her mom lives there with a dad. So it's like we do have a place to come back to. So one, like we just left, never having anything to really go back to. We do have family spread out. So
When you can kind of keep doctors and stuff like that, dentists or anything like that.
yeah, we
like
have them down here.
the local, because
Yeah.
I thought about that with my wife. She's an occupational therapist, and she looked into some of the traveling type stuff, kind of like a traveling nurse.
Yeah.
Like where we, all right, maybe we'll go bounce around like 2 years here, 2 years there. But I go, maybe we'll just still keep, like, my parents' house has room for us, and we'll keep our doctors in South Florida. So it's like every 6 months, even if it's just fly home, do our round of appointments with doctors, blood work, this and that kind of stuff, and then whoosh, off we go.
Yeah, we're not married to our doctors or dentists.
Yeah.
So we broke up with them long ago
Yeah,
because I
good.
didn't like them.
Yeah.
My dentist and they just, there's a reason I had cavities. I wasn't always sugar. It was mostly grains that I was eating, but never he told me to stop eating grains. So anyways, yeah, traveling around, we do have locations we like more than others. That does happen, like certain regions of the country, but we weren't able to get everywhere because of the rules that were going on from, we left in 2020 and we finally signed a lease as a part-time place in Alabama last year. So we've been 5-6 years on the road. Family's gotten bigger. My kids aren't 8 and 4 anymore. They're freaking 14 and 10. I got another man in the house, almost my 14-year-old. So now we're looking at land. We're looking at different options. Do we, buy a hunting property and turn it in? My kid's in the airsoft and all this crazy. So he wants to do his own airsoft field and do
Cool.
tactical training and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
partner up with the local sheriffs and use it for police training too. He's got a big entrepreneur thing planned. I'm like, that's a good idea. I wish somebody told me that when I was 14.
Yeah.
So he's got a little YouTube channel he does. So he's, you're able to make them think outside the box in a lot of ways, and I'm with them a lot. All the trauma, everything that career did, my wife's still like, you got to stop. And I go, I'm sorry. Sometimes I just got to tell the kids some wild stuff, how men are, how people are in general,
But being out on the road and being out and seeing that kind of stuff, they get exposed to a lot more stuff. It's a little harder to be sheltered to where you don't see life because you're pulling into truck stops, gas stations, different communities and stuff like that.
I remember when he saw the pigs having sex, and my little one came in and said, "Dad, the pigs are humping." And my older one, who was a little curious, he's like 9 or 10, he runs out there and he comes back with this look on his face. He's like, "They are. It's disgusting." Especially pigs.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've learned everything. They've learned how to slaughter animals. I'm trying to expose, because I was a suburban kid. I didn't hunt. I wasn't taught a lot how to fix stuff. It was pretty much go to the YMCA, learn how to play football and basketball. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
I played sports. And that's what kept me out of trouble. That's how I went through high school and into college, thinking I was going to be involved in sports, coaching and all that. So I never worked at anything. They took woodshop all that out, as I started to get through school. And I just didn't have those role models. So I'm trying to expose them to everything from hunting, fishing. Yeah, fishing we did down here, but not like they do in the country. And just everything, like guns, just being able to understand them more than what I was taught, be comfortable with it, understand the Constitution, understand a lot more things that, are big now that a lot of kids don't know, and that's been the biggest thing, kind of controlling what the information is that they never had a mask on. I mean, maybe they had to wear once or twice when we went somewhere that was crazy, but overall they didn't grow up with that. They didn't grow up with social anxiety. They're not worried about what other people think about what they look like. I mean, they got long hair that's dreaded. They look like little Mongols, and they're badasses. They take martial arts. I mean, they're not cocky. They're just good, solid, and they're going to be good, solid men.
Yeah.
And that's all I was trying to do. but trying not to bring the imperfections that I had as a cop or some of the other things that made me a little rough around the edges or be a little bit nicer to people, which we all have sometimes a hard time to do when we retire, the trust factor with people. But yeah, that's what we've been doing. And then obviously my biggest thing is the old heart disease, when 2019, when they diagnosed me with heart disease.
Well, let's take a break. Let's take the last break and then get into the heart disease stuff and then the keto journey and the one of the main topics. Yeah. So we'll be right back. Hey, come here. Come here. No, bring it in real close. I got something for you. Did you subscribe yet? Right down there. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification because you got to know when we're going to give you a show. Do it. Go now. Go now. I'm waiting. Come on. Right there. All right, back to the show. All right, we're back. And so we'll talk about in this last segment, Keto 5 O. You know, something you said heart disease right before we went to break. How's that affect it? And then get into changing of diet and stuff.
Yeah, so you get those routine physicals, every year. And, I knew I was going up in weight and it was the cholesterol was going up. And, my wife's more of a holistic naturopath type. She has tinctures and she understands the body even better now. But at the time she was like, no, I don't want you on a statin. I don't want you taking any of this stuff. So, we were concerned. But we never looked at my drinking or my food choices or the stress of my job. It was always, the typical medical they want to prescribe and not treat you for the, root causes. Exactly. Anyways, I'm playing basketball. I played 2-3 times a week. My knee was falling apart, my left knee, and doctor's like, you're going to need a new knee replacement. They always tell you that. Yeah. Never told me to lose any weight, change the diet, nothing. So, playing basketball with this guy, and he had lost 50 pounds. I hadn't seen him in a while. And he was a Canadian athlete at one time, white guy. And he was grabbing the rim. And he's about 6'1", a little taller than me. And I was like, man, Darren, how you do it? Man, you lost weight. How'd you do it? And he's like, man, I did this thing called keto. I'm like, what's keto? I didn't know it was CrossFit, martial arts. I had no idea. Yeah. And he goes, ketogenic. I was like, oh, what's that? He's like, oh, you burn fat for fuel. I had no idea what that was. I always heard carbohydrates, but I didn't know this fat for fuel stuff. So I ended up going home. I went and I typed it up, ketogenic.com, and it came up with a website and explained it. I was like, oh, interesting. And it had some recipes. It was pretty much more meat and cheese, less carbohydrates. Like lower your carbs and you'll, start burning your fat that's on your body as fuel. So I was like, whatever. Let me try this out. So I set a meal plan, and one of the things it was saying is to eat in a window. Kind of be strict with yourself. Like, I'm only going to eat between 9 and 5. I'll drink vodka afterwards, but I ain't going to eat after, between 9 and 5. So that's what I kind of did. And it got me a little more strict on my food. I started making a lot more food prep. I'd make, my own stuff. I started understanding, like, let's get the bread out and the pastas out. And I was feeling pretty good. I remember I was coaching T-ball. And I had lost, a couple pounds. You're you're looking all the time to see, is this working? You're on the scale. Even though they say don't get on the scale, you still get on the scale. And we had one in our police gym, so I would be in there all the time. And I noticed I got an app. It was like a carb counter app. And it had a system in there I could set up. I want to lose like 2 pounds a week. And it said, well, you need to keep your carbohydrates under 30. All right, that can't be hard until I understood how many carbohydrates were in my diet and everything, right? But it got me to read labels. It got me to start looking at stuff. And I scan it. I'm like, oh, I got 6 carbs. I can have, avocado or whatever, or a little fat bomb, almond butter thing, treats that they were selling. And I just really was strict. I kind of stuck to it, and I was still drinking. So I was still getting my central nervous system fixed, and I was just, getting the food going down. And after 6 months, I lost 50 pounds. Felt fantastic. I was freaking jump around the basketball court like a maniac. All of a sudden I went from being a power forward to more that, shooting guard or something. Yeah. And guys are noticing. I'm in evidence. They're walking by. Like, first they're like, are you sick? Because usually you see a guy gets cancer, gets real skinny, Yeah. But I was glowing. And I had changed my desk. I didn't sit down anymore. I had a Vera desk where I stood up because I just needed more energy. I ended up stacking boxes up in my evidence room just so my laptop could be up high. And then my boss walked by and he actually said, no, let's get you one of those desks. And he put it in. Yeah. So that's a good option. If you got to pay for yourself, $400 keeps you off your feet or from sitting. And you know, whatever. I take this deep dive into it. I'm helping guys get off Dr. Pepper, go diet Dr. Pepper. You know, every little bit matters throughout a whole day. And that's what I learned about counting the carbs. Every little, you know, gum, 2 grams of carbs in bubble gum or chewing gum. You know that? And I'm like, damn, didn't know all this stuff. So I coach guys. I already lost 50 pounds. Another cop loses 50 pounds. So I start getting the nickname Keto 5O. And this is all around 2019 when I'm getting ready to retire. So my last physical, I'm going to go get the colonoscopy. I'm going to go get my last whatever. And they're still trying to get me on statins. Mm-hmm. You know, I'd already lost Joe Crowder to having stents put in, which is a whole nother racket, guys. You want to talk to me about that off the air another time, reach out to me. So we're saying no to the statins, and the nurse, I'll never forget it, you know, nurse practitioner, they're the real workers for a lot of these doctors, right? So I remember her looking at me like, I wouldn't prescribe anyone a statin. You know, she almost looked around. Because a freaking mob watching her, right?
Yeah, somebody's
So
wild.
I remember thinking that. And then they say, you know what you should get done is this calcium, you know, coronary scan where they scan your arteries and find out how much calcium, you know, if you're clogged up. So like, what's that cost? She's like, well, you need a doctor to sign for it, but you still got to pay $100 for it. I'm like, so I got to sign. So you get a permission slip from your doctor to go pay out of pocket. It's kind of what a racket this is, right? So I go for this calcium scan. It's just like an MRI, real quick, 2 minutes. They scan you, and then the results come in. And there's no dyes. It's just real easy. You know, hey, this is pretty cool. And my doctor calls me back and says, Eric, we got a real problem. Your scan came back. It's really bad. The range is 0 to 10 for your calcium scores. When you have a little bit of a problem, 10 to 40 or whatever, you starting to have a problem. And then up to 400, you got a serious problem. Well, mine was 1,500. I was 1,100 points ahead of the top score of 400. So it scared me. Because now I'm like, man, here I am. I lost 50 pounds. They're telling me my cholesterol's high. You're hearing about all the carnivore and keto. So, you better watch the cholesterol. All that fat's bad for you. But I was already fat and sick before this. So, you know, you're trying to figure it all out. And I'm trying to find the doctors that I'd follow through keto and what do they say about this. And I started finding some stuff about it. About the healing that happens when you lose a lot of weight. Your body calcifies a lot of the soft plaque in your body. Okay, just like a statin would do. So I statined myself.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so there's still some issues, though. 1,500 is still not a good score to have. So he sends me to a cardiologist. I go to my department. Hey, I got heart disease. They're freaking saying I'm going to die. And I know it's this job, you know, 20 years. Obviously bad habits, drinking, everything else. But I got shot, killed a guy, was in trauma my whole life, you know, everyone dying around me, cops getting indicted, you know, the typical cop story, right? I could write a book like every other cop can. So I knew it was part of the job, you know, but the heart bill wouldn't apply like we discussed earlier because I didn't have an incident. I had nothing to show that I had a heart problem except for this calcium score and the high cholesterol. So sorry, we can't help you. So now I'm getting ready to retire. I'm like, man, what about health insurance? What do I do about this heart thing? Go to a cardiologist. And I recorded him. He don't know it to this day. If I violate every HIPAA law, I don't care. It's my record. So I filmed him as we're talking, and he doesn't know it. And he's telling me about statins. Oh, since 1990, statins have curved heart rate, you know, heart attacks down by all these percentages. I'm like, yeah, but, you know, kidney disease, mental illness from dementia and Alzheimer's gone up. It has a direct impact on the cholesterol for your brain too, not just your heart, right? He argues with me back and forth. So I end up walking out of there knowing I'm never going back to this guy, right? But now what do you do? I'm retiring. It's 2019. Here I am. They're telling me I'm going to die. But I just kept reading more and more information. You know, I knew that I was still not having any symptoms. I wasn't having any chest pain. I knew I lost a bunch of weight. I was feeling really good. I knew cholesterol can be blown up depending on what your diet's like. So if you're eating bad, your cholesterol is high. Yeah, it's probably bad cholesterol. But if you're eating right and it's high, your body's telling you you need it. It's feeding your body. It's good for the brain, you know. It's kind of like they say the firemen go into the fire. You don't kill the fireman, you know. So I walked away. COVID happens. We're traveling. I forget all about it. So 5 years later, I go to a lot of these keto events like Meat Stock or something like that. No, Healing Humanity, which is a big one in Tampa. And I talk to a lot of people about my diet. I do podcasts and I say, hey, I did carnivore. I eliminated this. I healed on this and I lost all this weight. So one of the conferences is a well-known cardiologist or cardiac surgeon named Dr. Philip Ovadia. He wrote a book, Stay Off My Operating Table, because he realized all the things he was doing was wrong before. Statins, surgeries. He could have healed people through diet because he healed himself. Typical guy, you know, he learned his own way of, you know, helping people. So I'm sitting there talking to him. He was on the stage talking earlier. And I was like, wow, that's really awesome. I go, Doc, have you ever heard anyone lowering their calcium score? Because you were talking about it. Because mine was 1,500 in 2019. And I go, I've been carnivore pretty much for 5 years, and I haven't been re-scanned. And he was like, wow, you haven't been scanning? We should get you scanned. I don't have insurance, right? Oh, I'll write you the script. So he writes the script. I go pay my $100. I go to the same place because I want to, you know, it was in Boynton, and go get my test done. Now see what he says. I don't know what this doc's going to cost me. Like, he's big bucks, right? So I'm like, oh man, I hope he's doing me a solid, like looking out for a first responder, which a lot of these docs are. You know, they're cool guys. They'll look after us, especially to help the rest of us, you know. And he was very
we're good guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Good to experiment on.
And he's looking at me going, holy cow, I've never seen a guy with this high of a CAT score. Or he has, but still, it was intriguing to him that a carnivore had gone this, and I haven't had statins, hadn't had a heart attack. So what's keeping this guy alive? We're ticking, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, sends me for the CAT score, comes back. They call me, Eric, it's 4,400 now. So now, remember the top is 400?
Yeah.
I'm 4,400. I'm 4,000, right? So it's scaring the dog shit out of me, dude. I don't know what's going on. I'm laying there imagining my kids are going to find me dead in my RV, right? So you're all like going through all these scenarios, all the dead bodies you've seen, all the, you know, everything that you've gone through in your life, your own death in your family. So I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? I feel good. You know, and so a doctor talks to me. He's like, nah, your numbers are good. Your insulin levels are good. You know, your A1C is right on. You know, your C-peptides, everything are freaking fantastic. You know, your cholesterol is high. You have a little bit of APB going on there. And you also got something with your histamine. And you also have some other things I want to look into. I'm like, okay, what's that? He's like, I want to send you for this other test where they look at everything in your blood markers. And it's through, I think it was... I don't even remember the name, but it's a full panel, and they do heavy mold testing. They did mycotoxins, the heavy metals, and they did Lyme disease. And turns out I ended up having Lyme disease.
Oh.
I had mycotoxins from heavy molds. I had 8 different molds that I was in the red for. And you guys that wear your vests, and that mold's growing on, it's going to grow on your body too. You are a petri dish for it. Okay. Not being outside enough with my shirt off, you know, getting all the toxins out of my body. Plus, I'd had 40 years of eating bad. You know, I was a 80s kid. I ate cereals with Pop-Tarts, school lunches. Everything was carb, playing football. You got to get big, you know. So my diet was trash. So he's like, all right, let's look at these blood markers. So I got the heavy metals, and it turns out I had 3 really bad ones. I had arsenic, mercury, and aluminum. Now, aluminum could be vaccines, could be a deodorant.
Yeah.
It could be the air. I mean, people don't think they're spraying. And what do you think's in it? You know, aluminum's always in something. So the arsenic was curious because my mom, a homicide sergeant's like, why are you testing positive for arsenic, right? She think my wife's trying to off me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even get life insurance, by the way, because of my heart disease. So that doesn't help my wife killing me. She needs me alive, you know, to work me. Yeah. So... the other one, like I was saying, was the mercury. I'm like, mercury? Well, guess what I had in the 80s? Fillings. Guess what all my fillings are?
Yeah.
Mercury fillings.
Yep.
So we went...
all the amalgam, the metal. Yeah.
So I had dental issues my whole life. Knocked my front teeth out when I was a kid, had braces. So I was in and out of doctor's offices. And well, they give you all the time. Injections in your mouth, you know. So my mouth was poisoned from that world, right? So... the mercury was an issue, so I went to it's called a biodentist, where they go in and they remove the mercury. They have to wear shit on their face. They got to hook you up to an oxygen because they don't want that getting into your body. And they removed the 6 fillings, and they had, you know, they used the clear, whatever the porcelain is that they use. Yeah. And then I had an issue afterwards, the detoxing of all that stuff that was in my body. You know, so I had flare-ups, and like my elbow would blow up, my knee would blow up, not from injuries, just swelling up. That's how we found out about the Lyme with my son. My youngest was going through a bunch of weird inflammation things. You know, we don't. I'm not saying it's related to any the shots that were going on out there, but a lot of things happen when after that. You know, I noticed in society and in children. So we dove in, and you know, it's perfect for my kid. His dad's Keto 5O because low inflammation diet is what we do. So one of the tips I would tell you parents, if your kids can't eat eggs, one of the things that's happening is all the eggs they're getting are fed corn and soy. And my kid cannot eat corn or soy, but he can eat eggs that aren't fed corn or soy. He doesn't have a reaction. The same thing goes with the meat. If he's eating meat that's been processed, corn fed, grain fed with pesticide grains, mind you, he reacts very quickly. So we kind of eat real clean. And I noticed my own journey at the same time. I was getting healthier. You know, like, man, I'm feeling better. You know, I'm losing a lot of body fat, you know, but I'm still kind of poisoned from all these different things. So after this goes on, another year goes by. You know, here I am with this 4,400 CAC score. People are telling me I'm going to die. I've been at conferences. People are like, "Oh, I'm sorry." They look at you like I got a death sentence.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel pretty good. My stamina, my testosterone, which in 2019 was below 400, is now over 800. So I'm like, and
that's without any kind of
no
therapies.
TRT, nothing.
Wow.
Dude. And I didn't know about TRT. I probably would have gone, you know, and that's one of the things I battle with a lot of guys now because unfortunately, when you try to get off of it, your body goes through a big change and it's hard for you to adapt and you end up going back to it. But what are you going to do if the world ends or there's prices go up? Are you going to be hooked on this the rest of your life?
Right.
So I didn't even know about it. So I was lucky. Testosterone goes up. I'm very frisky with my wife. I'm always chasing her around. You know, I'm like a howling wolf on this carnivore diet because it just brings back the animal in you. And doesn't mean you're cheating on your wives or anything like that. It just means you're feeling good. So my whole family's like this. But anyways, year goes by. He's like, let's get you retest again. Let's see how that calcium score is doing. And we did it again. And this is 2025. And it came back 5,600. Now I'm on the point of one of the highest scores out there. Like I go, what's the highest calcium score out there? And I've seen a 6,000 and a 7. And these dudes are like 80. Here I am 55. I got this crazy score. So they finally said, all right, there's a place, there's one in Florida, in Miami. It's from the guy, Dr. Agustin, who did the South Beach diet. He's the one that came up with the Agustin number. That's the number I have, that 5625. It's based off of his
scale.
So he does one called, I think it's Clear, where they'll do a different scan. They'll look at they'll put a dye in you, and it's not putting a stent up all the way up your leg and into your body. It's done with dyes. And I did the heart flow version, which was in Tennessee. And they pretty much, it's another MRI. They hook you up with a dye. It burns your ass. You know, you feel it through your whole body if you ever had it. It's like, holy cow. Like, it's weird. And you sit there, you have to be real still because they're measuring your heartbeats and they're measuring the flow. And what they're going to do is measure the pressure in my veins. Am I being restricted? You know, am I going to, have this where I need a stent to help me freaking survive? And I'm already anti-stent because of Joe. So I'm not looking for any invasive surgery at all because I've never seen it work out well. You maybe get 10 years and then you're fucking dead. So we'd go do this heart flow. They do the dye, and I come out. And it's about, I remember it was $1,800, but with insurance, 12 grand. So I paid $1,800, but with my insurance, it would have been 12 grand plus the 20% deductible, just so you know. So it would have been around the same. So it's a big racket. They know what they're doing. You can go in and say, I don't have any insurance. They'll work it out with you with a pay or a cash play or a pay system. So anyways, it comes back and my flow was great. So what's happened is by being athletic, playing football and being very, I ran a lot of basketball, a lot of really, I didn't run marathons because I hate that type, but a lot more sprinting. And it was, the flow wasn't restricted except in the worst artery. It was like 25% blocked in the worst artery. That means it's 75% still flowing. Well, usually they stent you if you're 80% blocked or 90% blocked. And they always tell you that, by the way, you're always blocked because they got to justify why their stents are put in. They're never going to say, we didn't have to do the stents, but we did it anyways. Well, they do it anyways a lot. Okay. Yeah. They're already in there. Cha-ching. The minute they're in there, they get to bill you, So anyways, it comes back that I'm not going to die of a heart attack. My Widowmaker artery is clear. So here I am with this crazy calcium score that it looks like I'm going to die if you talk to most cardiologists. You need to be on a statin. You got to lower your LDL. Why am I going to lower my LDL when it's going to affect my brain So now you want me to lower my LDL, which is going to give me kidney disease, give me Alzheimer's, just to lower this LDL number. There's more numbers than that one LDL number. You have your A1C, you have your insulin. You know, how sensitive are you to? What's your glucose? You know, what's your HDL? How much are you exercising? What's your trigs? How much sugar is flowing through your blood? You know, there's so many other factors that just, you know, it's a big money maker. I don't know if anybody knows, but the statin is by far the most prescribed drug in the world.
Yeah.
And that's where the dogma is. They're going to back it. They're going to push it because that's their money maker. So when you get off of the statin, you got me walking. I'm always like, every time I start my car, I'm like, is this it? You know, I was thinking about cars blowing up because at 56, I'm not on medications at all. They don't like that. Mm-hmm. They don't want that because I healed myself through meat, eggs, cheese, getting off processed foods. You know, my wife makes homemade sourdough bread. You know, we do have greens and now there's some avocados. I just don't eat the kale. I don't eat the broccoli. You know, I just stay away from that stuff. My kids stay away from it. They're better. We do fermented vegetables. You know, there's other things you do. We don't just get away from all vegetables in our house, you know.
Yeah.
But for me, there's a reason why kids don't like the vegetables. They don't need them. They really don't.
So this calcium score, so they've not, and since you even worked with the doctor that created the scale,
Yeah.
did they, are they just saying, okay, I guess you're cool? Like, since you're kind of going
I
against.
can't go back to that life because what I'm worried about is if I start doing, let's say I start cheating around my food and start drinking again, well, that plaque could get soft again. And that plaque gets soft.
Because it's the soft plaque that most of us have.
Right. If it's hard like a scab, it's not going to float off. But if it's soft, and that's what ends up breaking away and clogging, you know.
It just keeps building up or it gets caught in other arteries and stuff and then gives you heart attacks.
Yeah, and the inflammation is one of the things I don't people realize how inflamed we all are on a normal every day.
Yeah.
You know, we've all seen it when you clean your diet, you get off of something and the rashes go away. You know, my wife has had her stomach healed because she found out she had a sensitivity to gluten. Mm-hmm. You know, gluten's in all the breads. You know, what do you think holds it together? It's called gluten. You know what I mean?
Yeah, glue.
So it's and a lot of us can't handle it. And especially the smaller framed you are, women have more issues with it. And I don't know if you know, there's a lot of women with thyroid issues.
Yeah.
Women usually eat more plants. You know, there's things called oxalates that attack the thyroid. You know, it's bigger in women, but it's come up in autopsies. Women, tons of these oxalates, which are like little crystals that cut through your body. It's stuck to thyroids, you know, and it's a big issue. And it's just the abundance of plants. You know, we eat too much of it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all of it's bad, but most of it in abundance is too much. You know, how long does it take? Why are vegans making their food look like meat? Think there's any carnivores making their food look like vegetables?
No,
never.
No. Yeah.
We ain't got time for that.
Oh, good. So I like this part. I can cut out and show my wife because she keeps telling me I need veggies in my.
And that's one of the worst things I hate.
But then my problem is one of the only vegetables that I really like to eat is either asparagus or broccoli. So it's like when I'm cooking and I've got the meat and maybe our carb or something like that, then it's like I'm like, oh well, I need a veggie, I need a green, fucking broccoli. And you said broccoli is not good.
Yeah, so it's a Frankenstein.
Yeah.
It was made for, it's not even, all right, so broccoli, this is one of the funny tidbits. Broccoli has 2 ingredients in it that are okay to eat on its own, but when you mix them together, like chew on it, it causes a toxic ingredient by the chemical, for them mixing together. Well, what do you think we do? And we mix it together, and then we get gas, we get inflammation in our body. So I got off of broccoli. I would say go zucchini. You don't need greens. The whole green thing is a little bit freaking, they've been lying to us.
Yeah.
You know,
Created by Fauci.
Oh, he's probably buying it. I mean, just look back at the AIDS epidemic with that dude.
Yeah.
I mean, so anyways, we just learn to eat different ways. We eat food we try that's not sprayed. Mm-hmm. I know it doesn't have to be organic. You know, there's certain foods that you can get that don't have to be organic. You know, it depends on how thick the peel is, you know, of the fruit or of the vegetable, you know, how much toxins can be absorbed through it versus not, you know, and
So like a carrot is kind of like a thin.
It's in the ground. You know, what's in the ground? What do you know, that's one of the things about potatoes and, you know, those root vegetables, you know. But I went out with my buddy the other day. We went to an ale house and we got 50 wings and I got cheese sticks and then he got a pretzel and then I got what was it? chili fries, and we had a cheat night. And yeah, I feel it next day. A couple of days takes me to get straight. I can still eat like that, but I feel it.
Yeah, pull the mic back
Right.
towards you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you don't have to lean
All right,
into it,
sorry.
but you can swing it back towards you.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
I do eat out once in a while, but I do feel really guilty about it because I really know what's in it. I know
Yeah.
how they every restaurant you go to is from the same delivery guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Cisco, the
Yeah.
Cisco factory feeding us
Cisco
up.
or whatchamacallit, Cheney Brothers.
Yeah,
or
they're
something.
yeah, it's the same food, same places. So I always say, well, I try to tell guys when you're looking at your diet, don't drink the extra stuff. Don't drink the sugar, the Cokes and all that stuff, because you're already getting enough of that usually in your diet.
Yeah,
if
we
you get a
stopped
sandwich.
soda in 2013. We haven't had soda since like 2013.
And I'm not saying you can't have a Diet Coke,
Yeah.
but just like what I did when I was drinking a lot was one of my mixers. I went from beer to, I had a kegerator, and then I was like, we don't, you're dad now. All right, I'll go to vodka and drink a whole bottle. But it was, all right, let's do diet soda now instead of the 7-Up. I used to go 7-Up and vodka. Then it was diet 7-Up. And then it was, well, there's a new Zevia that's a Sprite flavor and it's no carbs or whatever. So I used that. And then became just sparkling water plain with the vodka. But I was always getting the vodka in.
Yeah.
That was one of my issues. I could get healthy every other way. I couldn't shake.
So do you drink now? You
No,
drink
it's
alcohol?
been 3 years.
So no alcohol.
Yeah, it was kind of changing. My wife called me out. My son was going through the Lyme thing, and I had a couple of beers one night. She's like, what if we had to go right now? And, that whole what if shit. So I was like, yeah. So it was Florida State LSU that night. I go, all right, if FSU beats LSU, I won't drink this week. And they won. Well, then they won again. Then they won again. And they went undefeated, and the quarterback broke his leg in December. But by then, I'd gone 4 months without any drinking. I was like, well, let me just keep riding it. My wife's happier. I'm not going to lie. I was better.
Realistically, it is. There's not too much benefit from it in general. Like I've gotten into the bourbon world, and it turns into that dopamine hit of the bourbon hunting, looking for the special ones, the braggability of, oh, I got this special limited bottle and stuff like that, and I buy into it, but I really don't need it. And like when I go to my doctor's appointments or whatever, and they ask how often I drink, sometimes I'm just like, do I really even qualify to answer that question sometimes? Because if you really break it down, it's maybe 3 times a month. Yeah. It's not once a week. It's like 3 times a month or maybe even twice a month, or I almost sometimes force myself. I might get on a live stream and I'll fix a glass of whiskey just to drink during a live stream or something like that. But then it's like, I'm not. So, I've cut back a lot. I was in Ireland, so I was getting a bunch of Guinness and stuff just to kind of toe the line. But I drink one. I didn't drink a lot of them.
I don't know if I may go back. My wife's like, oh my gosh, she's the type that thinks I'm going to relapse or something. And I'm like, man, you don't know how I really did control it. Even though I wasn't controlling it, I was able to still be successful as a cop. I could have been probably more. I could have maybe got promoted earlier, done some different things because drinking was part of my weekend plans. Hey, I got to go here or there. So, but, I managed it. I was a functioning alcoholic, as they said, and I hit it well. And then I realized after I retired how many other guys hit it. A lot of us are doing it that way, and we don't have a lot of other options. Prescription pills, or you're supposed to tell your department, then you can't drive, the whole thing. Or if you're drinking, it's accepted. Every party I went to would be a drunk fest. And you just try to maintain where you didn't become the story of the party for the rest of the department. We used to have these Grizz Fest things where it was volleyball in the pool, rookies versus the veterans, and nobody would leave that pool for 6 hours. And by the end of the day, that pool was no longer blue.
It was urine.
It was just
straight
and
urine.
it was a freak. There'd be domestics, there'd be fights. It was just an IA's nightmare, right? But we would just keep going to those things and just doing it to our bodies, man. And I just looking back, I wish I would have known some other, and I don't mean go do yoga. I just mean other things I could have done with my time to get me out of that habit of just chasing the bottle all the time. We didn't have CBD. We didn't have, if you smoked weed, you're going to get busted on a fucking piss test. So there wasn't a lot for us, and now there seems to be, that whole world is opening up, So if you do see something horrible, you can at least deal with it with a group, and maybe it's not sitting there as a scar so deep,
Yeah, I asked the question a lot of times. Like when I was going to Amsterdam in 2013, I asked RIA, I go, hey, if I eat a brownie in Amsterdam, is that illegal? Because it's legal where I'm at, you know.
Right.
And that was
I used to
2013.
ask that,
It was
yeah.
2013, so it was a different time. It wasn't so legal in a lot of places or medical and stuff. It was a different world. And he's like, nope, you still can't, because if you piss here, we have no way of telling if it's here or there. And I'm like, that's an odd thing to say, because it's legal where I'm at. I'm in Amsterdam, and I buy it.
You could do cocaine
You know.
and be out in 48 hours.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
could be a weekend cokehead.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah, fucking, or even just Xanax, or you get prescribed Xanax,
Wife gets it,
but you abuse it.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. We're abusing quote legal drugs, whether it's prescribed or it's alcohol. We're abusing cigarettes. Everybody's abusing nicotine and stuff like that. So we abuse all the legal stuff and beat ourselves up.
And let's not talk about the drinking and driving, guys.
Oh, totally.
We're hypocrites, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I got stopped actually here in Cooper City
Yeah.
before I was a cop, coming home from softball. It reminded me I was going down 100th or whatever.
Yeah.
And I got pulled over by Cooper City. And it was a time where we lose the last out of the game would buy all the beer for the next game.
Yeah.
So they put all the beers in the back of my truck, empty cans.
Oh, God.
So I'm driving down home, had a couple,
Yeah.
not all those beers, and Cooper City pulls me over.
Yeah.
And he does a little light thing. And I told him where I was coming from. I go, sorry about all the bottles. We're all hanging out at the softball field. He's like, and I go, I'm applying. I was applying at different agencies. I didn't know my door was going to get slammed shut with the weed history.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at this time I was, a young prospect. And he goes, the DUI is not a good way to start your career. And he left. And I got, it scared me straight at that
Yeah.
point where I didn't risk it anymore because I still wanted the job.
Yeah.
But once I got the job, there's plenty. I took my unmarked police car to a Marlins game and tailgated. I turned on the lights. Woo, woo.
Hey, look at me.
I'm in 2 counties over. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of behavior we get ourselves into. We decide to have an affair with the lady at the YMCA that's watching your kid.
Yeah.
The same one your wife goes, are you kidding me?
Yep.
And we do it all the
Yeah.
time.
The ego.
We
the
risk
ego.
it.
Yeah.
I had a guy get caught by his wife cheating. He was across the street. She was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just leaving work. Well, she's like, oh, you're not leaving work. You're leaving that tramp's house. And he's like, no, I'm not. And he pulled out. He went code and he blended in. He went code to get away from his wife. I mean, this is the crazy.
Horrible. Yeah.
And we're held to a higher standard, though.
Yeah. No, it's it's a weakness.
Politicians, same thing.
All right, man.
All right.
Well, we went through a shit ton of stuff. I'll have all the links.
3 podcasts in one.
Nah,
I'm just joking.
no, but that's the way it's got to go. Let's see. I had some fun curveball type questions.
Ooh, cool. Threesomes? No, I refuse to answer that.
If you had to cook a keto meal for an entire SWAT team, what's on the menu?
I would do brisket.
Brisket.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just brisket?
Yeah, we're just doing carnivore.
God, sweet.
Pork, maybe some pork rinds. Get some pig in there.
Okay. And some pork rinds just as like your little crispy thing.
Yeah.
Or whatever. All right. This one, let's say, all right, police officers, this is a deeper question. Police officers spend their careers protecting everyone or everyone else. Why do you think so many of us struggle to protect ourselves?
I think it's family trauma.
Family trauma?
I think more of us have it, and we either been around it and we've seen enough of it that we want to make a difference, and we bring that into our professions, and then we overfill our buckets with trauma, and that's why we get so messed up. Because I came into this job already, my bucket was getting kind of full of things I've seen in my mom's career, stepdad's careers, my other things in my own personal life. And then my mom was a single mom. I want to help ladies out, women out. You want to defend them. It's in our DNA. And you spend a whole career doing it. And then you wonder why you're a little messed up later in life. It's because your trauma bucket's full, man.
Yeah, you're just
Not
pulled
supposed
in.
to see all that.
Yeah, I definitely believe it now to this day. Now that figuring out ways to adjust to the things that officers have seen, and we're talking about it a lot more with podcasts and stuff like that, or stuff like this. So people are talking about it, and and some people will fight back against it and say, well, no, that's not always true. This and that, but it is true, you know. And thankfully, we've got some organizations like Bleeding Blue Incorporated in Dade, and then we've got some, you know, and then Overwatch Collective, some other people that I've talked to and stuff. So good stuff. All right, cool, bro. Well, I'll have everything listed down in the description below. Keto Five O website.
Yeah, there's Keto Five O. Just anywhere Keto Five O's website's just a basic website. Cops and Campers website's being rebuilt right now. It's still active, but anywhere on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I'm on there with Keto Five O and Cops and Campers. You can see the flyer for the October event in Alabama. Hopefully get you guys up. I got cabins. You guys come do a show. You interview a bunch of first responders up there.
Yeah, cool.
So it'll be awesome.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much for coming with some treats and some swag.
Yeah.
And we will catch everybody on the next one. I got to get ready and record another episode right after this. So see you guys later. Bye.
Calling all units, calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.